message. A message that is loud and clear and does not mince words. We've come to take our country back. We've come to take our country back from the special interests that use Washington as their personal piggy bank. The special interests that are more concerned with their personal welfare than the general welfare. The Washington machine that gobbles up our freedoms and invades every nook and cranny of our lives must be stopped. I watch our once great economy collapse under mounting spending and debt. I think, what kind of America will our grandchildren see? It seems to me that both parties and the entire political system are to blame. Big government and debt doubled under a Republican administration. And it's now tripling under Barack Obama's watch. President Obama is on course to add more debt than all of the previous presidents combined. We borrow $1 million a minute. This vast accumulation of debt threatens not just our economy, but our security. We can wake up now and do the right thing. Quit spending money we don't have.
But honest and tastefully tacky somehow. Here comes another hour of insensitivity training with Glenn Woods.
Well, April 15th, that'd be tax time for you. And sure, it must be springtime in Wyoming because, well, we had to put the snow cam up. It's so thick out there. It's a Bold Public Radio Show. My name is Glenn Woods. Thanks for joining me. So, as always, phone number if you want to get involved in the action, real simple, 307-363-4093. That's 307-363-4093. And, of course, as always, pretty much everything I talk about and a whole lot more, you'll find it on my website at boldrepublic.com, since today is tax day. Remy, who, if you don't know that name, he works for the Reason Foundation, does, parody songs. Released one just in time for tax day.
Make them pay for months of earnings. Oh, that's a good one. Have them look for lost receipts. Ooh, I like it. They'll have about as much fun as their last colonoscopy. People everywhere will get ripped off the paper version of the Apple Watch. And we'll dance all night. It's the best code ever. Some folks pay a lot, others they pay never. And you'll get tax breaks if you're really clever. It'll take so long. It's the best code ever. They'll be like, oh, oh, no. We'll be like, yeah, yeah, yeah. We'll be like, oh. You may have heard that all your info on our systems can be hacked with ease. You know it's true. Yeah. But rest assured, if they don't get them, they'll be in the care of folks like these. Yes, historians will all agree, among the greatest works in history. And we'll dance all night. It's the best code ever. Some folks pay a lot, others they pay never. And if you don't comply, you'll go to jail. However, why would you not buy? It's the best code ever. They'll be like, oh, oh, no. We'll be like, yeah, yeah, yeah. They'll be like, oh, oh, no. We'll be like, yeah, yeah, yeah. They'll be like, oh, oh, no.
It's the Bold Republic Radio Show, Tax Day Edition. My name is Glenn Woods. Thanks for joining me. Of course, phone number if you want to get involved in the action, 307-363-4093. And as always, pretty much everything I'm talking about, a whole lot more, you find it on my website, which is boldrepublic.com. So, look, I put up just a couple of days, I think it was Monday, I put up on my Facebook page just a thought, folks. Look at something called the fair tax, which is completely different from the tax code we have right now. Man, the fight that people got into just arguing over flat tax, fair tax, VAT tax, whatever you want to do. And at this point, I got to jump in at some point and just say, hey, folks, at least we're all agreeing on one thing. The current system that we have is so far beyond broken. Yesterday, I did this whole rip on Common Core math. After looking at Common Core math questions and looking at the tax code, I realize now that, in fact, the U.S. tax code is nothing more than Common Core math brought to the classroom. What else could it possibly be?
Let me tell you how it will be. There's one for you, 19 for me. 'Cause I'm the tax man. Yeah, I'm the tax man.
If you're thinking they're probably taxing everything under the sun out there, you're probably absolutely right. There's not much you can do with your day that isn't taxed. There really isn't much you can do with your day. I mean, from the moment you get up in the morning, think about it. Take every step of your day throughout the day. What isn't taxed out there? Then the fact that they get to dig into your personal finances, how your money moves around, what you might inherit. If there's money out there and it moves, they want to tax it. If there's money out there that isn't moving, they want to know why it isn't moving, so they want to find a way to tax it. Now, this is, I hate to say this is nothing new. Well, let's go back. While I was searching around online today, I found this. This, folks, is also on my Daily Outrage page at boldrepublic.com. The weirdest and most specific taxes in history. And we're going to have to span time, and we're going to have to span the globe to do this. During the 1st century A.D., Roman emperor placed a tax on urine. The ammonia found in the body fluid. No, I'm not serious. Well, there was actually something in the urine at the time that they wanted, which would be the ammonia. Okay. But okay, here's the story. The ammonia in the bodily fluid was the key ingredient for several chemical processes, such as laundering woolen togas. Urine was collected from public urinals and sold. And so because it was a commodity that could be sold, then, well, of course, they would put a tax on it. Everything has taxes. Blueberries. Blueberries have a tax. Maine has a special tax on blueberries. Didn't we fight a revolution that it wasn't because of it, but one of the things that sparked the revolution is you're even taxing our tea? Maine has a special tax on blueberries, which are a valuable state resource. 99% of blueberries in the U.S. are produced in Maine. So it makes sense that the state wants to stay on the cutting edge of research and production. The tax is allotted for those purposes. You know, and I looked at that for the first time and I thought, well, it's not like the private sector couldn't do all of the research and whatever the hell else you're doing, but okay, the candy tax. Now, this candy tax goes beyond what I'm reading here. In some cities, like Chicago, candy that is made with flour is taxed as food at 1%, while candy that is prepared without flour, usually meaning sugar-based, is taxed at 6.25%. And their idiotic theory on something like that is, well, if we tax it, that means that you're going to eat less of it, consume less of it. That's why we tax cigarettes. That's why we tax candy, sodas. And the reason why I say that story isn't particularly up to date depends on where you are in the country. They have a soda tax and so on. Anything that they want to encourage you to use, they don't tax, or tax less. Things they want to discourage you from doing, they tax more. Okay. We've gone through this before. Has the candy tax worked? No, not at all. I've already given you all the numbers over the past few years that you and I have been talking. Candy taxes never work. The fur tax. Yes, there is a tax on fur, or was. Let's see now. Minnesota There's a tax on fur, though other clothing materials are unaffected. To stay warm during the Minnesota winters, you can opt for leather or wool, but fur garments are taxed at 6.5%, and the reason for that would be they don't want you wearing fur, so they'll go ahead and tax the thing. Okay. The jock tax. Yeah, you sports fanatics out there. Cities and states levy a jock tax on any income earned by entertainers and athletes while playing at the city. As a result, athletes have to pay on a portion of their income at any place they play. That really adds a new meaning to the phrase home field advantage. Didn't know? Well, I guess that's since it's considered entertainment and they like taxing entertainment. Well, hey, look, again, you're making money somehow, so they have to find a way to tax it. Doesn't matter. Non-essential tax items. So for those folks listening down in Colorado, this one's for you. Colorado essential food items are tax-free. By the way, they get to decide what is an essential food item. But straws and cups and lids are subject to sales tax because they're considered to be non-essential food items. So they'll find one way or another. Here again, it's up to it's completely their discretion, the prepared food tax. So some cities like New York place a special tax on prepared foods. So a sliced bagel, for example, would be taxed once as a food, but then again as a prepared food, thus creating the sliced bagel tax. So if you went and just bought a bagel at your grocery store in a bag, it's just a bagel in a bag, you're not going to be taxed for that. Or there would be a small food tax if there is one. But then the moment that you bring it into, let's say, a shop where they would cut it for you and toast it for you, that's prepared food, and they're going to tax you for that. Oh, there's another one. Hang on a second. There's another one here. There's a popcorn. I forget which state does this, but there's a popcorn tax. If you buy unpopped popcorn, there's no tax for that. But the moment you pop it or buy it pre-popped, if you will, well, there's a tax for something like that. See how insane this gets? No, wait, back up. I keep wanting to get on to the next one, but there's another one. And we'll get back to the IRS in just a minute, but there's another one here. Okay, so if you buy peanuts, and let's say they're still in their shell, a bag of peanuts. I'm not kidding. Some states do this. That is not taxed. But the moment they shell the peanuts for you, roast the peanuts for you, salt the peanuts for you, anything, that's taxable. Okay, let's see here. In England, there is a television tax. If the television is in your home, you must pay an annual fee, previously called a television license per set. Yes, in England, you would have to have a license to have a TV in your home. Color televisions are taxed at a higher rate than black and white television. The strangest iteration of this tax involves the blind. If a person is legally blind and has a TV at home, they are still required to pay the tax, but only half because they can't see. I am not kidding, because they can't see it, so that would be the television tax. Wallpaper tax? In 1712, England proposed a tax on printed wallpaper. Builders avoided the tax by hanging plain wallpaper, then painting patterns over it. Now, hold on, I got a couple more to go here. That wallpaper tax thing reminded me. I wrote my second novel, which took place in Savannah, Georgia. There's something about taxing doors in Savannah, Georgia, and something very unusual about the windows in Savannah, Georgia. I'm going to tell you about that next. Okay, so if you look outside, let's go to the snow cam again here real quick. It is, you can tell, when it is springtime in Wyoming, because it's snowing outside. These are the big fat flakes coming down here. So, of course, that's going to mean, it's going to be a lot of mud sloshing around after that. And that mud just doesn't get up the side of your cars. It gets inside of the vehicles as well. Fast and Furious Detailing, they are ready and on the job, and they don't just handle Vehicles like you see in this shot here, for those watching on the video cam, just average everyday vehicle. They handle fleet vehicles as well. So if you have a company with a lot of vehicles, Fast and Furious Detailing can handle it for you. They're located in Northeast Wyoming. In Gillette, they'll serve all of Northeast Wyoming. National Dead Clock Countdown for Tax Day, April 15th, 2015. 18,189 billion. And now a message from future generations.
What have you done?
This has been your National Dead Clock Count Up.
I'm Professor Burke from Farmers Insurance, and this is 30 Seconds of Smart. So you want discounts on your home insurance. Upgrade your roof. Upgrade your plumbing. Get a burglar alarm. Get a fire alarm. Combine policies with your spouse. Bundle your coverage. Quit smoking. And, of course, talk to farmers, because the more you know about home insurance, the more you can save.
We are farmers.
Get smarter about your insurance at farmers.com.
Stop by and see Lyle Austin, 201 West Lakeway Road in the Lakeway Professional Center, 686-5002. That's 686-5002.
Jack's Liquor and Bar, your adult daycare center. Everyone's welcome at Jack's. The best prices in town. Make new friends. Make old friends. And by that we mean make friends with old people.
Hello, Sonny.
They don't have karaoke, but that doesn't stop anyone. Open at 6 a.m. so you can stay longer. Affordable drinks so you can buy more. Jack's Liquor and Bar, your hometown bar with your hometown friends. Well, and the one guy you're not real too sure about.
What's up, dude?
Jack's Liquor and Bar, your adult daycare center. 302 East 2nd Street, across from the Napa Auto Parts Store, Gillette, Wyoming.
To everyone. Subject, an email about email. It seems like everything these days generates email. Every treaty, every trade negotiation, every real estate transaction, and pretty much every lobbyist you talk to makes more and more email. And juggling all those emails can be tough. It's a chore to carry around multiple devices. For most people, it's one device for work, one device for home, and one device for liaising with billionaire Arabs. That's why we made Hillary Mail, the all-in-one email solution for work, for yoga class, or for highly classified information. Your messages are stored far away on a server in the garage of a luxury home in rural New York, protected by a 10-foot fence and a state-of-the-art Secret Service agent named Phil, making sure your email is far from the reach of freedom of information laws, congressional oversight, and journalists. And for extra peace of mind, you have the ability to disappear anything you don't want anyone else to read, regardless of your ethical obligation. Opt for convenience. Opt for Hillary Mail. Hillary Mail is not protected from hacking.
This show runs on lots of cigars and lots of coffee. So it's sort of like a London fog look in the studio.
With that hyper-nervous feeling, as if Jack the Ripper was on the loose.
Creepy, but entertaining. It's Glenn Woods.
It's the Bold Republic Radio Show on a tax day. My name's Glenn Woods. Thanks for joining me. So, by the way, someone I've been following on the internet for a long time, I think pretty much since he started on MRC TV, Dan Joseph, is going to be on in the second half hour of the program for just a few minutes. He does these great videos. He just did one where he went walking through a park with a clipboard, and an Obama shirt on, asking people, would you like to raise the minimum wage to $50 an hour? It's interesting what he got there. Let's get back to the tax thing. We'll talk to Dan about that in the next half hour. So, okay, I said to you that, back in England in 1712 in England, they proposed a tax on printed wallpaper. Okay, the idea there is if you can afford printed wallpaper, this is before anyone ever thought of something like the income tax. If you could afford printed wallpaper, well, then you could afford to pay more in taxes. That was their logic. So what people did to get around it, people are always finding a way around it. They would just paint their walls or put paper on their walls if they wanted to do that. Then they would come along with a paint roller that had a pattern on it. There, they painted their wallpaper in order to get around it. There is a wig perfume tax, or was. 1795, England put a tax on the aromatic powders that men and women could put in their wigs. When the perfumes were taxed, the hairpieces became a stinker and eventually led to the dramatic decline in those kinds of wigs. So a lot of times when you go to tax something, they think they're going to make more money off of it. They make less money off of it. And don't forget, I've told you this over the years. Why do they make less money? Because people have stopped the behavior? In some cases, yes, but in most cases, no, because they got around the behavior. Let's go back to New York City real quick. I've told you guys this before. New York City has the highest taxes and regulations in the nation on cigarettes. Now, what's the one place you can go in the nation to get completely unregulated and untaxed cigarettes? New York City. Why? Because it created a black market. That's why. So there's your perfume wig tax. Okay, now, I said I was going to do a window tax for you. This is an interesting one. And I'll tell you about Savannah, Georgia, too. 1696, England began taxing houses based on the number of windows they had. See, the more windows, the richer you are. This led to many houses having very few windows in order to avoid paying the tax. Eventually, this became a public health problem, and it ended in 1851. Okay, now that's just some of this. Let me tell you about the Savannah, Georgia tax, and it's not on windows. It was just the opposite. I was taking a tour for my second novel, Essence, which takes place in Savannah, Georgia, and if you've never been, one of the most beautiful towns in America. And as I'm touring the place, I'm looking around at these beautiful homes that you could get a tour of, and the inn I was staying in. And I noticed that they have very few doors in some of these houses, but really big windows, especially if they had a terrace leading out, you know, old Southern homes with the big old Southern moss oaks hanging over, and these beautiful terraces, because on the hot summer day you would sit outside on the terrace under the trees and cool off. And they wouldn't have a door leading out to the porch. They would have a big window. You would just slide it up and step out underneath. Had to open like a window. Why? Because of a tax that they had in Georgia at the time. Their theory was the more doors you have, the richer you are. So they would tax you per door. So instead of putting doors inside and out of the house, they started putting windows there. Even one, and I've always wondered, it's partly to allow air to flow through the room in Southern homes when it gets really hot. But a lot of Southern homes, when you go from one room to the next, there's not a door that separates the two. It's just a big open wall, really, that you can just head without a door. Very decorative, very pretty to look at. But anything to avoid putting the door on there. Dan just posted this one. World history full of odd tax schemes, including the Russian Tsar Peter the Great on September 5th, 1698. By choosing a more Western way of living for his nation, Peter enforced a beard tax on all Russian men. Since Europe men were usually clean-shaven, all men except priests had to pay 100 rubles, which was a small fortune back in those days, in order to be able to wear a beard. And so, okay, beards went away for the most part in Russia, just because someone wanted to make a fashion statement. I'm going to go out there and check the snow cam real quick. Yep, that would be springtime in Wyoming. Hey, South Dakota, North Dakota, Montana, don't worry. We're sending all of this mess you see out right. We're sending this your way just because we love you that much.
Oh, that's a good one. Have them look for lost receipts. Ooh, I like it. They'll have about as much fun as their last colonoscopy. People everywhere will get ripped off the paper version of the Apple Watch. And we'll dance all night. It's the best code ever. Some folks pay a lot, others they pay never. And you'll get tax breaks if you're really clever. It'll take so long. It's the best code ever. They'd be like, oh, oh,
The first ever prescription depressant hit the shelves today. Approved by the FDA last month, Despondex is intended as a treatment for the approximately 20 million Americans who are insufferably cheery. Tests prove the drug is effective at reducing a range of symptoms, from squealing loudly when a friend calls to use of the phrase cool beans and excessive hugging. Dr. Alman Way calls the drug a huge step forward in the battle against exuberance.
If you're in a good mood every so often, well, that's fine. That's normal. This is for those that have a persistent positive outlook on life.
Eva Henry of New Haven, Connecticut began participating in a clinical trial of Despondex 6 weeks ago.
I was always telling people how cute their outfits were and bringing them little gifts. I'd beam at anyone who made eye contact with me. I didn't realize life didn't have to be like that.
Eva said she never knew how her annoyingly chipper attitude was affecting those around her.
Over and over again, I'd ask Jeff to ride his bike down to the botanical garden with me. No matter how many times he said no.
And she was always smiling, but I didn't know what to do to help her.
I used to think, why am I the only one trying to set up single friends with each other? And now I realize it. I was sick. I needed treatment.
Eva says the drug may have saved their marriage.
Now Jeff and I can just waste a night sitting on the couch, watching a TV show neither of us enjoy. Like a regular couple.
Not everyone is convinced that Despondex is the cure-all for perkiness, however. In this week's Time magazine, Michael Polosic of UCLA argues that many patients get similar results from natural remedies, something as simple as a diet of corn syrup and white bread and a total lack of exercise. But Dr. Way disagrees.
We have to erase the stigma attached with getting chirpy people help, real medical help. I mean, do you know what it's like to be around these people? It's pretty annoying.
Doctors estimate the new drug could reduce the number of costume or theme parties in the U.S. by up to 40%.
The top 3 things that should outrage you about the Environmental Protection Agency. In case you haven't heard of the EPA, it's a really big government agency with a really big budget and an alarming messiah complex when it comes to advancing Big Green's agenda. Number 1. The EPA is hell-bent on raising the cost of electricity for your family. According to its own estimates, new regulations on coal-fired power plants could drive household electricity bills up by more than $1,000 a year. Oh, and these same regulations are predicted to kill off more than 600,000 jobs. Number 2. This bureaucratic government monster can't seem to keep track of its own employees or its own budget. Last year, the world discovered that John Beale, one of the EPA's climate policy experts, was actually an expert in defrauding America. Beale used little effort to convince his bosses, including current EPA Chief Gina McCarthy, that he was a CIA agent spy. We're not making this up, whose position required him to disappear for months on end while still remaining on the payroll. He ultimately cheated taxpayers out of almost $1 million. And number 3, the EPA, which should be a science-driven public service agency, is constantly getting in bed with agenda-driven environmental activists. In fact, this pillow talk has resulted in EPA talking points being taken directly from activist group materials. There is even a scheme in which the EPA encourages environmental groups to sue them in order to get a court to allow them to create stricter regulations without much input from the public. The bonus to this scheme? Taxpayers pay the court costs of the environmentalists. There's a lot more that would make you mad about the EPA. Find out more at EPAFacts.com.
This is a generic liner. Kinda boring, isn't it? Now back to Glenn Woods.
It's the Bold Republic Radio Show. My name is Glenn Woods. Thanks for joining me. I just want all those affiliate stations in North and South Dakota to remember that what we're sending you is love. We're looking at, for those watching on the video stream, the snow cam right now, and it is just dumping down in just big fat flakes out there. Because we love you so much, we're sending it your way. Now, for everybody in the region, don't forget this Saturday at 3 o'clock in Cheyenne at the library in the Cottonwood Room, which is a big room. We're having a Tea Party rally mainly for organizational purposes. I'm one of the speakers there. If you're there or can drive there by 3 o'clock, that's Cheyenne, Wyoming. That'll be 3 o'clock this Saturday. Now, on the phone is a guy that I've been following at MRC TV on the internet for a real long time, and I've been I've been looking for an excuse to have him on the program, and I think this is probably the perfect excuse. Dan, how do you get the guts to walk out into the parks wearing an Obama T-shirt and ask the question you ask?
The worst part about it is that I actually have to wear the Obama T-shirt, and it's very embarrassing for me. I mean, it's like humiliation, you know? It's like, you ever see those dogs where they put signs on them that says, "Oh, I ate a box of crayons and then I pooped out rainbows." It's kind of like that, and that's, but you know, it's part of the costume, and you have to do it, and because it's the way to make college students and other dumb people trust you when you have that Obama T-shirt on and it says hope, because you know they still go for that even after 7 years of not so much hope. They still think that you're an ally because they all voted for the guy.
Well, and what's great about it is most people, this is Dan Joseph with MRC TV, I hear that name, I know exactly who you are immediately, but a lot of these people have never really watched it before. So you're still incognito for these people. What I'm going to do here is if you can send on Facebook some information where I can mail something to you, because we have Bold Republic barf bags for when government makes you sick.
Yes, I could use one of those.
So we're going to send you
daily
several.
basis.
Yeah, so you can just go ahead and heave into it whenever you have to put on one of those Obama T-shirts. It was a 50. Oh, by the way, I tweeted out there that you were going to be on the show today. Well, I know you're doing a good job, Dan, because right away we started getting hate tweets right back, some things that I can't repeat on the air, which tells me you're doing your job. So this was a simple question. What about a $50 an hour minimum wage? So what kind of response did you get?
Well, we go out and do these petition videos on college campuses pretty often. I think this is maybe the 7th or 8th one we've done. And within a period of about 50 minutes, 50 to an hour, we got more signatures than we have ever gotten for any of our other petitions before. It was about 21 signatures, and very enthusiastic people. A few of them had some questions, a few of them had some reservations, but, you know, to them, you know, Economics 101 has not taught them that a $50 an hour minimum wage would cost a huge decrease in jobs. It would cost, you know, prices to skyrocket for just about everything. It would cost it would make new technology more likely to replace people who work in fast food restaurants and the like. And they just don't understand that. To them it says, oh, $50 an hour, well, a poor person could really do a lot with that money. Yeah. So, you know, it's their idealism combined with their economic ignorance that makes them feel like this is something I should sign. Unfortunately, we have to remember these are college students, including a finance student that actually signed the petition, which was especially scary. And you know, you just got to wonder what it is exactly that they're being taught in those classrooms, and even if they're being taught anything at all regarding economics, that would make them sign such a ridiculous thing.
To their credit, there were just a few students who turned and raised their eyebrow at you and had the proper response. So there were a few people who understood that there would be a problem.
Yes, there were, and then, you know, kudos to them. We did try to show them in the video. One guy said the minimum wage was racist. I'm not sure if I agree with that entirely, but it is true that minimum wage will cost more minorities their jobs, whether that's because of racism or because of, you know, basic minorities working those job positions. But yes, you know, we had people who do understand. Thank God, a few students understood that minimum wage would have this disastrous effect on the economy. But they were the minority. They were the distinct minority, and that's what you're getting into when you get into things like, you know, the Democrats and the liberals trying to boost the minimum wage even to $15 an hour. It's popular with the American people. They think it's okay because they don't understand the potential economic consequences of it, and these colleges are a microcosm of that. They are a microcosm of the idealism and the desire for economic equality that the talking points of the left have been harping on for the last few years.
Well, see, to me, when I watch a video like yours, I think that I'm watching people who have never been taught what money really is, or the function of money. And so this is why they're so confused about it. So here's the argument I tend to give them. If money is not the economy, it isn't. It's how we trade the economy. The economy is what we produce. So if somebody's flipping a little greasy burger patty, a little chunk of meat for the dollar menu, they're not producing enough in a day to be able to survive. But on the other hand, if you got a trade as a welder, if you go to North Dakota right now, you can earn 6 figures because you're producing something that is worth more in the economy. Now, if you want to see some really bad reaction to that, that's truth. That's the truth of the matter. Say that and watch the angry reaction you get over basic economics.
Right. Well, and this is why it's harder being a conservative candidate for any office, or a conservative in general, than it is to be a liberal. Because the truth of the matter is that some people have a certain set of skills that are more valuable to society than other people. There are a lot of people who can flip burgers. There are not a lot of people who can run a multi-million-dollar corporation. There are a lot of people, unfortunately, or I hate to say it, there are a lot of people who can teach out there. There are not a whole lot of people who can hit a baseball 300 feet over a fence, whether you like it or not. We pay for rare skills and particular skills, and we pay more for them. You say that to a liberal, and they say, they have a collectivist mindset, and they say, whoa, we all work just as hard as each other. No one works harder. We all are in this together. You didn't build that. And that's the message that people want to hear, especially the people at the bottom. They want to hear, well, yeah, I go out there and I work 8 hours a day, and sure, I don't, have any special skills. I don't have a skill that anyone couldn't do, but at the same time, I work hard, I sweat, I do something, therefore I deserve to make as much as anybody else, even those people who do have a certain particular set of skills. And you can't make that argument, and especially in a presidential campaign. You hear Hillary going out there and Obama going out there these days talking about middle-class economics. Well, what is middle-class economics? They haven't even explained it yet. But what it is, it's a class warfare tactic which is intended to, set the middle class against the wealthy. And that's what this next campaign is going to be about. And that's sort of what I exposed in this video, I hope.
I could seriously talk to you for about an hour on this topic here, but I want to make sure people can follow you, because every time you post something, I'm right there on it. So people can find MRC TV where do they find you on social media?
Sure. MRCTV.org is our flagship, and the Media Research Center. But MRCTV.org, you can see the videos first there. My Facebook page, which has actually been growing rapidly since this video was released, it's www.facebook.com/DanJoseph78. You can find my channel on YouTube, where I put up a lot of other stuff, songs, skits, that kind of thing. That's also DanJoseph78. Just Google search it or type it into YouTube. And my Twitter is @DanJoseph78. So there are a lot of places that people can follow me, can see our stuff. And, thank you so much for having me on your show. I didn't even know it snowed in Wyoming in the spring. That blows my mind. How much snow are you going to get?
I don't know how much, but it's the big fat flakes. Here, I'll give you an idea. Early October it begins. Then it teases us with spring for just a little while, and just when we get used to walking around in 50-degree weather without coats, all of a sudden here comes the snow again, just because, well, Mother Nature is a cruel, evil woman, Dan.
Yeah, well, you know what? Next time I go out and complain about it being 40 degrees and 50 degrees in the spring, I'm going to think of you, and I'm going to say, you know what? I could have it worse.
Well, here, I have it far worse than that. Dan, I'm a Florida boy. I grew up in southern Florida on an island, so I'm really...
Yeah, well, I was in Southern California for a long time, too, so my blood is thin, and it's hard to take this kind of thing.
All right, well, I will look for another excuse to have you back on, and people can always find your videos on my website, too, because I'm posting them all the time. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you so much. Great to be on, Glenn.
Did you know that most women wish that their birthday was in April? That's because diamond is the birthstone for April. This is Bruce at Marshall Jewelry here in Gillette, and the word diamond comes from the old Greek word adamas, which means unconquerable. This refers to the fact that diamond is the world's hardest substance. At Marshall Jewelry, we have a very large selection of loose diamonds and diamond jewelry at great prices. Ask about our infinity cut diamonds. They're the world's most perfectly cut diamond. For the best diamond selection and prices, shop Marshall Jewelry, where she'll love it, guaranteed.
Smithers? You look exhausted.
Oh, sir, I was at the office half the night.
Really? Well, that's the third night this week.
Yes, sir. I just can't seem to stay away. I'm not sure what's gotten into me.
Dedication, son. I haven't seen that kind of work ethic in years.
Right. Well, I'll probably be at the office late again tonight. There's just so much to do.
You'll want to work late every night at the Office Saloon with Doc McGillicuddy Monday, Tap That Tuesdays, Screw It Wednesdays, Thirsty Thursdays, and thank God it's Friday with Bud and Bud Light specials. And at the office, you'll even want to work weekends, Saturday nights, ladies' nights, and mini-me Sundays. Work late at the Office Saloon, U.S. Highway 14 in Gillette, Wyoming, out toward the airport.
Smithers, is there any luck with that client you've been chasing?
Oh, yes, sir. Last night, she gave me her phone number.
Attaboy, Smithers. Attaboy.
Hey, gun enthusiasts, it's Gillette's Friends of the NRA 19th Annual Banquet. So get your tickets now before they sell out again, just like they've done every year before. This year, it's April 25th, 2015, at 5 p.m. at the Camplex Energy Hall in Gillette, Wyoming. $40 for adults, $30 for 14 and up. Banquet raffle tickets available at Rocky Mountain Discount Sport, Gun Traders, 4T Pawn, Gillette Pawn and Gun, TNT Guns and Ammo. For more information, call 307-941-9669. That's 307-941-9669. Gillette, Friends of NRA, 19th Annual Banquet. Don't miss it. See you there. So what's the matter, Senator? Flushing all that taxpayer money down the toilet, clogging up the drain again?
And how? And nothing works when the money don't flow.
And I bet flushing all that Chinese money really clogs the pipes.
Oh, with interest. Yeah, Chinese money's the worst.
Well, Senator, to keep that money flowing, why not try this new pipe cleaner? It's called Debt Bomb.
Debt Bomb?
Yes, Debt Bomb, Senator. With all the pressure building up in the pipes from all that money you're flushing down the toilet, well, there's just simply no flow. You need something to clear the clog. But don't worry, the pressure will eventually build up that you can just shove Debt Bomb into the toilet and everything blows sky high.
Yee! Oh, look at it go.
Why, there's nothing left. No, Senator, there's nothing. No economy, no country, nothing.
But you say that like it's a bad thing.
Endorsed by governments worldwide. It's inevitable. Debt Bomb.
Come on, don't act like you don't know how this works. Glenn sits in a padded room, talks to himself, and guess what? You're the voices in his head. It's really creepy, but it works. Let's get back in there. Glenn Woods is back on the air.
So, okay, tax time is here. It's April 15th. Here we go. Got to pay your taxes. Now, I am going to get into in the next hour of the program. And we've talked about this before, but let's get into a discussion about it. How actually we can collect the taxes, the federal government can collect the taxes that they're collecting right now without having to do the hassle that everybody has to do every single year. And it's not just the hassle of you having to sit down and figure out your taxes. That's bad enough. Imagine if you're not a business owner, you have no idea. It has gotten so bad out there. You have no idea how bad it is. Well, looking at what I had to look at on taxes with Obamacare, now they're using the tax code to try to regulate your behavior. That's why your federal government wants the IRS. It's not just about getting money from you. It is, and this is not tin-hatted conspiracy. This is serious now. It is about getting that money from you and controlling you and knowing what you're doing. We're going to take a look at it next. We'll take a look at Obamacare in your tax code in just a moment. Hang on, I'm going to read you what comes right out of the tax code itself in just a minute.
What could be worse for a country than to lose the confidence of the young patriotic kids who dream of service as a calling, an adventure, and a duty they can't refuse? An entire generation that can no longer believe they'll be honorably led and never forgotten. That watched leaders seem willing to abandon those who serve. And even worse, leave them and their families vulnerable to a lifetime of neglect and poverty. What could be worse for a country than a generation that is unwilling to serve it? It's the most dangerous symptom of a national sickness. The young men and women who swear an oath to defend freedom and obey their leaders should never feel even a flicker of a doubt that those leaders have their backs. Service is the sacred duty of a free people. Those who believe that so deeply they risk their lives for it deserve an unshakable loyalty, a commitment over all commitments. That's what good guys believe. And the 5 million men and women of the National Rifle Association of America stand and fight for that commitment. We feel what you feel. Join us.
I'm a real sportsman, and I'm a member of organizations that support hunting and fishing, and I'm a phony sportsman. Groups like the Montana Wildlife Federation, the Montana Sportsman Alliance, and the Montana Hunters and Anglers, they sound like they support sportsmen, but they're actually left-wing lobbying groups. Real sportsman groups in Montana are grassroots organizations. Real sportsmen who like hunting and fishing and pay dues to support groups that protect their rights. Phony sportsman organizations collect and spend millions of dollars from left-wing groups that often work against sportsmen. My vote goes to candidates who represent real sportsmen. I support candidates that think we cling to our guns because we just don't know any better. I love groups like the Montana Sportsman Alliance that give 92% of their political endorsements to Democrats. So don't be a phony sportsman like these guys.
Phony sportsman groups are green decoys designed to fool the media and the public. Hunt down the facts at montanagreendecos.com.
It's the Bold Republic Radio Show Tax Day Edition. My name is Glenn Woods. Thanks for joining us. Phone number if you want to get involved, 307-363-4093. That's 307-363-4093. And pretty much everything I talk about, a whole lot more, you'll find it on my website, which is boldrepublic.com. So, okay. Here is from your tax forms. If you didn't bother to read it, or if you haven't had a chance to, whatever the case is, healthcare individual responsibility. Now, stop right there. This is regards to Obamacare. And this is the tax regarding Obamacare. Remember, they didn't want to call it a penalty, so they called it a mandate because they didn't want to call it a tax. And the court said, well, a mandate and a penalty is illegal, so you're going to have to call it a tax. What's the difference between the three? There is no difference between the three. The court just decided if they grabbed the law and renamed, just changed one word, it suddenly is constitutional, even though the law functions in the exact same way. Does that make any sense to you? If it does, please seek psychological counseling, fast as possible. So the individual in the Obamacare section of your taxes, it's not called a tax, it's called your individual or shared responsibility. Well, here's how it reads. Beginning in 2014, the individual must have health coverage, qualify for a health coverage exemption, or make a shared responsibility payment with your tax return. So that's what that is. That is not a penalty. It is not a mandate. It is not a tax. It is a shared responsibility payment. This is how they take your freedom from you. Let me explain for those who haven't heard me say it before, let me explain what I mean by this is how they take your freedom. See, you were at one time a free person in a free country. It was completely up to you if you wanted to buy health insurance. And if you did buy health insurance, most people purchased health insurance for just a few basic things, like you would if on your car. Just something catastrophic happening to your car, insurance pays for it. But you don't have health insurance pay for every little thing, like filling up your gas tank, replacing your windshield wipers. You don't have car insurance for those things. Oil change insurance, who would do that? Imagine what your premiums would be. So most people were smart enough just to get a few basic items of insurance. Made complete sense. Government came along and in their infinite wisdom decided that everything had to be covered by insurance. Things that are normally, well, if you purchase them out of pocket, are much cheaper, become more expensive when you go through insurance. Like, for example, if you want to get eyeglasses. Well, to go to see the optometrist and then to pay for the glasses, if you went through your insurance company, you're paying far more than if you just paid out of pocket. I can't believe for the life of me why any woman would want her insurance company to cover contraceptives. Maybe they just never sat down for just a few seconds to figure out that if you get your insurance company to pay for contraceptives, in fact, you are paying far more than you should be for contraceptives. It's cheaper if you just paid straight out of pocket. So most people back then were able to figure it out. Government came along and stripped your freedom from you. Across America, millions of people had their insurance canceled. Without their permission, insurance was just canceled. Then they ordered free people to purchase something. That means I was ordered to purchase something that I didn't want. Not health insurance in general, because I just covered the catastrophic things. No, I was ordered to buy health insurance for all sorts of things. I didn't understand. Why would I pay for all of this? So I did not buy health insurance under Obamacare. I just simply don't have any right now. I'm not doing it. So they want me to pay some kind of a fine. They don't want to call it a fine. They can't, because see, this is where my freedoms were taken, but now I'm supposed to be punished for this. So this is supposed to be, what is it now? Is it a fine? It is a mandate? Is it a tax? No, of course not. Because we live in George Orwellville. That's where we are right now. We got to find some way, if we say it, oh, it is your shared responsibility, then obviously you are going to fall for that, hook, line, and sinker. They fooled you because they named it something that would fool you. So let me ask you something now, honestly, seriously. Are you fooled? I wasn't fooled. I don't know really. There might be a few people out there who actually are nodding their heads going, oh, yes, it's shared responsibility. Those are the people who vote liberal Democrat. Those are the people who want Elizabeth Warren to run for president because Hillary Clinton is not liberal enough. Those people believe that. Those are the useful idiots who believe stuff like this. The rest of us, the moment they said, well, it's your shared responsibility payment. What the rest of us said when we heard that is not something that I can repeat on the air, but you all know what I'm talking about, right? Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. I don't need to explain that language on the air. You know what I'm talking about. All right, so alternatives to the tax code. There's plenty of ways that the federal government can collect taxes without doing what they're doing right now. There's several alternates out there. What are they, and why won't your current government go for it? I'll explain.
Members of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee have approved a bipartisan bill on Iran nuclear negotiations. The committee's chairman, Tennessee Senator Bob Corker, explains here why he believes the agreement is necessary. Listen.
On behalf of the American people, before the congressionally mandated sanctions are lifted, that we on their behalf ensure that this is something that holds Iran accountable, is enforceable, and certainly is very transparent.
This agreement would give Congress a say on an emerging deal to curb Iran's nuclear program. It would also give Congress a chance to undercut any parts it doesn't like. Maryland Senator Ben Cardin added he believes the deal will only help President Obama in negotiations with Iran.
So I would hope that the White House would recognize this as congressional prerogative that we have, if anything, reinforced the president's ability to negotiate, and there will be no action taken by Congress on the substance of the agreements till we receive the agreements.
The White House has indicated that it will sign the compromise bill if it passes, and it will now be sent for a full vote in the Senate. One America's Augusta Cassada has more.
The Senate Foreign Relations Committee has come together on bipartisan legislation, allowing Congress to review the emerging nuclear deal with Iran. White House spokesman Josh Earnest claims President Obama is not particularly thrilled with the bill, but it's acceptable. And Senate Minority Leader Harry Reid is also on board.
I think it's really a wonderful step forward that the White House and the Foreign Relations Committee has agreed to move forward. I think that's good. The president said he won't veto this.
Republican Senator John Barrasso argued the administration has fallen woefully behind in its negotiation goals, adding that this bill will help Congress ensure America's safety, hoping to keep Iran from obtaining a nuclear weapon.
The president may want to hide what's in the deal, but in a bipartisan way, we want to make sure there is transparency and the American public gets to have their voices heard.
Senate Minority Whip Dick Durbin expressed the same optimism and is confident that the administration is on track for a successful deal with Iran.
We're hopeful that this will move forward, and we think if it will be a positive move, a bipartisan move to deal with an extremely important issue concerning the security of the United States.
A glimmer of bipartisan hope on a tough issue. This is a plus for Congress. They've been seeking a voice on the ongoing negotiations for the past few months now. But even if lawmakers reject the agreement with Iran, the president still has the power to veto in the end. Augusta Cassada, One American News, Washington.
I'm a real sportsman, and I'm a member of organizations that support hunting and fishing, and I'm a phony sportsman. Groups like the Montana Wildlife Federation, the Montana Sportsman Alliance, and the Montana Hunters and Anglers, they sound like they support sportsmen, but they're actually left-wing lobbying groups. Real sportsman groups in Montana are grassroots organizations. Real sportsmen who like hunting and fishing and pay dues to support groups that protect their rights. Phony sportsman organizations collect and spend millions of dollars from left-wing groups that often work against sportsmen. My vote goes to candidates who represent real sportsmen. I support candidates that think we cling to our guns because we just don't know any better. I love groups like the Montana Sportsman Alliance that give 92% of their political endorsements to Democrats. So don't be a phony sportsman like these guys.
Phony sportsman groups are green decoys designed to fool the media and the public. Hunt down the facts at montanagreendecos.com.
Did you hear? The government is giving away free guns. Yes, free guns. Gun manufacturers around the nation will be mandated to give every citizen a free gun with ammunition. As you know, the U.S. Constitution states that you have a right to bear arms. And since we've been told that anything that is a right, like health care, is given to you by the government for free, then that must mean that soon you'll be able to pick up your free gun. And since free contraceptives are also a right, then that means you get free bullets too. Yes, right now the U.S. government is borrowing money from China and future generations and raising taxes on the mega wealthy just to make sure that you get your free gun guaranteed under the Constitution. Because now anything that's a right in this country is given to you for free. Healthcare's a right, and you have the right to bear arms. It's your right.
Hey, sweetie, what's going on?
Well, honey, I have some news.
Okay, what?
All that training paid off. I got the job.
Oh, I knew you would get it. So when do you start?
When you donate stuff to Goodwill, you help provide job training for people right here in your community. Goodwill. Donate stuff, create jobs. Find your nearest donation center at goodwill.org. A message from Goodwill and the Ad Council.
So, yes, Glenn is pro-gun, but we only let him have one bullet, and we make him keep it in his pocket.
Sound familiar? Inside that man's body is a little child calling out for help.
Let's get back in there. Here's Glenn Woods.
I'm not paid for what we spend by the middle of the decade. If you like your doctor, you will be able to keep your doctor, period. If you've got health insurance, you like your doctor, you like your plan, you can keep your doctor, you can keep your plan. No matter what you've heard, if you like your doctor or healthcare plan, you can keep it. For the first time in more than a decade, imports accounted for less than half of what we consumed. Job growth was the weakest of any economic expansion between 2001 and 2008 since World War II. I don't want to run auto companies. I don't want to run banks. I think we can get a lot of work done fast. When I met with the governors, all of them have projects that are shovel-ready. Shovel-ready was not as shovel-ready as we expected. I would convene a continuous advisory meeting with not just Democrats, but Republicans, specifically on national security issues, because there is a long tradition that our differences in foreign policy should end at the water's edge.
Irreverent, but honest and tastefully tacky somehow. Here comes another hour of insensitivity training with Glenn Woods.
So right on tax day, your Congress is trying to pass some kind of a bill that would protect Americans from IRS tax abuses. Oh, it's a wonderful idea. Don't you feel better now? It's the Bold Republic Radio Show. My name is Glenn Woods. Thanks for joining me. Phone number to get involved, 307-363-4093. That's 307-363-4093. And pretty much everything I'm talking about and a whole lot more, you'll find it on my website, which is boldrepublic.com. Check the snow cam real quick. Yeah, that's Wyoming in the springtime. April 15th, tax day is today, 2015, and the snow is just, wow, piling down. Now, it's warm enough out there. It's not sticking, but still, though, those are big fat flakes coming. I'm not complaining. We need the moisture. Just noticing it's April 15th. Typical Wyoming spring for you. Okay. From Freedom Works, House votes on tax day to protect Americans from IRS abuses. Now, there is a better solution than this little bill, whatever it is they're proposing here. But let's go ahead and take a look at what they're proposing first, and I'll tell you what the solution is. Tax day, the House is taking on the corrupt IRS officials by voting on a handful of quality bills, which would, 1, prevent the IRS from taxing donations to nonprofits as gifts. 2, make much easier to fire IRS employees like Lois Lerner who abuse their positions to target political groups. Oh, by the way, it was not a tax thing. I was watching something on the news last night. It was, I think it was DEA agents who have been caught south of the border. The very drug cartels that they're supposed to be busting were having sex parties for them. And the question was asked of one lady that was testifying, so, did you fire any of these people? Oh, I can't do that. Oh, no, there's a process for firing people. You just can't fire someone, not in Washington, D.C. All right, so next, allow groups which are denied tax-exempt status to appeal their denial. See, I got a better, easier solution than this, but okay. Establish basic taxpayers' bill of rights. Again, they don't have to do this. There's an easier solution. But we're thinking in political think here. So this is how they look at a agency as corrupt and as big and as a mess as the IRS is, and this is what Congress does to fix the problem. But I can also blame Congress. Okay, here's why. I heard a quote yesterday from a woman who works for the IRS. Did you know that last year, this is where you can blame Congress, last year Congress passed 586, I believe, changes to the federal tax code. Last year, 586 changes to the federal tax code. And so a woman who works for the IRS in rather high up position was asked the question, well, okay, if that's what was passed, what was all of that about? And she said, I don't know. I can't keep up with it. She works for the IRS. She's in rather a high position. She has no idea what this is all about. There's no way she can keep up with it. Think about it. If it was 586 changes last year alone, how in the world do you keep up with that when that's more than one change a day? That's more than a change a day. And most of the changes, as you know, the way Congress works is pages long, not just like someone wrote a paragraph to change a paragraph. In some cases, it may have been that, but in most cases, we're adding pages to the tax code. Who can keep up with all of this? Prohibit IRS employees from using their personal email accounts for official business. Okay. Expedite the ability of nonprofit groups to secure. Together, these bills would help shield Americans from, well, IRS corruption and so on. I got a better idea. This is what Congress wants to do. Here's my idea. Get rid of the IRS. Now, for those people, whenever I say something like that, there are people who right away say, we have to collect taxes. Okay. Excuse me, folks. I am not the smartest guy in the world. I'll say that right here and now on the air. I am not the smartest guy in the world. But I'm also not that dumb, okay? So give me a little bit of credit. Can we do that? All right. So when I say, hey, we can get rid of the IRS, I did not say we're going to do that and there's no way the federal government can collect any money. That's it. It's over. Did it sound like I said something? Because that's not what. If you think that that's what I was saying, you're the idiot here, not me. You're the stupid guy, not me. All right. Several solutions. One, and this is not a bad idea. One is the flat tax. The flat tax is simply you get a 3x5 card. Now I'm just going to pick a number out of thin air. Okay. Let's say your federal government was going to tax everybody 5%. I'm just picking a number. We can discuss what percentage later. Everybody pays 5%. And if you're saying, well, the rich should pay their fair share, they are. They're going to pay 5% of what they earn, just like you are paying 5% of what you earn. So that is fair. 5%, if somebody's making, do I really have to explain this? You know, to some people, I actually have to explain this. All right, no, I'll explain it. All right. I'll talk slow so you understand. If somebody's making $1 million a year, 5% of $1 million a year is a lot more than 5% of $30,000 a year. Now, come on, you went to school, you learned this. All right, so now that we're done with that, I'll quit talking down to you. Because the reason I'm not doing this to everybody, but there are people who actually hit me with questions like this, and they're looking at me like I'm stupid. Come on, guys, this is easy. So let's say it's 5%. Everybody just, this is what I earned. 5% of that is this much. Here's my check. Boom, done. So this whole complicated tax code, which nobody can possibly understand, just goes away. Now, there are people who argue for the VAT tax or the value-added tax. The problem I have with the flat tax and the value-added tax, in both cases, you have to sit down and figure something out. In both cases, you have to sit down and do some kind of figuring and calculation. And it doesn't take long before government can take that and get so screwball with it that there's no way you can possibly understand a tax code again. It wouldn't take long for bureaucracy and the politicians. Well, okay, 5%, everybody has to pay 5%, but we need to make an exception for. And right away the exceptions start. And if we're going to do that, there has to be a rule. You see what happens? Immediately we head right down the same road. And the value-added tax does the same thing. Immediately, well, we got to make some adjustments. You just can't do it that simply. Okay, so I'm a big proponent of what's called the fair tax. I hate the name. I never did like fair tax as a name. You could have come up with something better than that. Okay, but fair tax. Find out more at fairtax.org. What it is just a national sales tax. So the IRS disappears. When you get your paycheck, you get your entire paycheck. Nothing is deducted. Okay? Businesses are not taxed. That makes America a tax haven. You know, one of the reasons that so many companies are packing up and leaving this country and doing business overseas is because we have the highest corporate tax rate in the country. And it's also very confusing for small business people. In fact, there's a lot of business people that, let's say you owned a company, a small company. Not only are you taxed, but your company is taxed. Your company made money, then you're taking the salary out of your company to pay yourself. So you're getting taxed twice. It gets really complicated. So let's just get rid of all of that. Companies are not taxed at all. That makes America a tax haven. People come to America to open up a business because there is no such thing as a tax. Now, how then does the federal government collect taxes? When you purchase something at the retail level, that's where the tax is. Now, if you're thinking, well, that's going to make everything more expensive. No, a $50 pair of shoes is still a $50 pair of shoes. Because you see, right now, about 27% of the cost of that $50 pair of shoes, you know what it is? Yeah, taxes. Okay, so what we're going to do here is just take all of that and move it to the end of the process. There's no paperwork to figure out. At the end of the day, the retailer, because this is only a retail tax, anyone from a retail store goes to the bank to make their nightly deposits. Now they're carrying 2 deposit bags. One deposit bag is the money that they made. The other deposit bag is how much they collected for the federal government. That's it. That's the tax code. Done. Now, how much more simple can it be? And there's nothing to fill out. Nothing. There's not piles and piles of paperwork here. So the whole system would be much simpler. And again, making America a tax haven brings jobs to America. But also think of the cost of compliance here. Well, I had Dan Joseph on from MRC TV in the last hour of the program. There's so much I wanted to talk to him about, but one of them was, what is really a job? What creates wealth? What is money? Well, a lot of people will say, isn't your accountant at a job? When you have an accountant, isn't the accountant actually somebody who's working for a living? Isn't that a job? So the U.S. tax code, besides all the bureaucrats, created a bunch of jobs because, well, there's all these people sitting around in offices figuring out the taxes. And my answer is, yeah, that's a drain on business. Do you know why it's a drain? All right, let's say for those people watching on a video cam, I've got to hold up here. I have a magic 8-ball in my studio. The kind, you know, where you shake it, it makes a little prediction, or you ask it a question, it gives you the answer. Now, if you've listened to this show long enough, of course I have one of these. I mean, come on. You know what I also have? You know I have one of these. I was given as a gift one of those little hula girls that you put on the dashboard of your car that rocks back and forth as you drive. Of course I have one of these in the studio. What kind of radio show you think this is? I got the quality stuff here. So let's take the company that manufactures these magic 8-balls. Okay? Important jobs are the manufacture of the 8-ball, the selling of the 8-ball to retail stores, and distribution, actually getting the 8-ball to the stores that sell it. See, and you need an accountant to keep track of the money flowing in and out, and the other bookkeeping things like the product flowing in and out. Okay, got it? That's what an account. So you still have an accountant. But if you have to have an entire room full of accountants that are doing nothing but just filling out paperwork for the federal government, that's money that the magic 8-ball manufacturers could have spent manufacturing and selling more magic 8-balls. But instead, they got a bunch of people sitting around doing nothing but just filling out paperwork. That's not producing a product. That's not selling the product. That's not getting the product to the customer. Therefore, it's a loss of money. People sitting around filling out paperwork is not production. Okay? It's a wasted salary. That's all that is, a wasted salary. Okay, let's take a look at the snow cam again real quick. Still coming down there pretty hard. Wow. Looks like it picked up a little bit out there. I'll tell you, since we're getting toward the weekend here, let me tell you who's prepared for all of this. 5 locations in Wyoming. Rocky Mountain Discount Sports, they got it all. Doesn't matter if this is winter. In springtime, what is it? Winter, summer, how can you tell? It's always somewhere in between. Rocky Mountain Discount Sports has everything for the outdoorsman for any weather conditions. Clothing, what kind of gear, what kind of sporting activity are you involved in? Name it. From fishing to hunting to just camping, whatever you need. There's a location in Gillette and Casper, Wyoming as well. Everything you need, even when the weather like this suddenly changes. Hey, gun enthusiasts, it's Gillette's Friends of the NRA 19th Annual Banquet. So get your tickets now before they sell out again, just like they've done every year before. This year it's April 25th, 2015 at 5 p.m. at the Camplex Energy Hall in Gillette, Wyoming. $40 for adults, $30 for 14 and up. Banquet raffle tickets available at Rocky Mountain Discount Sport, Gun Traders, 4T Pawn, Gillette Pawn and Gun, TNT Guns and Ammo. For more information, call 307-941-9669. That's 307-941-9669. Gillette, Friends of NRA, 19th Annual Banquet. Don't miss it. See you there.
You could either spend $100 getting your phone fixed, or you could go ahead and spend $400 to replace it. At Selectel Wireless and Gillette, we fix phones. Most generally, what breaks is the digitizer or the LCD. This is from being dropped, being smashed, thrown against the wall. No, seriously, 9 times out of 10, people throw their phone. Well, we can fix that too. Save money, fix it, don't replace it. Come see us at Selectel Wireless, next to Office Depot in Gillette, Wyoming. But if you do need a new phone, we have those too.
So over in that corner, we have 3 guys talking about Bigfoot. Over there, they're talking about the game that's on the TV above their heads. That table, I've lost track of what they were talking about a long time ago, but the conversation keeps getting louder. Then someone puts their favorite song in the jukebox, and here comes that guy who thinks he can dance, but he can't dance, but he thinks he can. Nobody really cares that he can. In a moment, I'm going to walk over to their giant humidor and pick out a nice stogie. They have great cigars in a huge humidor, Pat's Liquor, where if you haven't made friends, then you haven't been there more than 2 minutes. Give it another minute and make some friends at Pat's Liquor, 600 South Douglas Highway, Gillette, Wyoming, right next to Wells Fargo Bank. Happy hour, 4:30 till 7.
I just finished researching my family tree on this internet site.
Great. Sounds fun.
Well...
You don't sound too excited about it.
My ancestors were lame. Most were peasants. No one did anything interesting in any of the Great Wars. They were all assigned to cleaning out the latrines and digging graves.
No kings or lords in your lineage?
I wish. A lot of them spent most of their time in jail, and they weren't even interesting criminals. Look, this guy was hung for trying to steal a dead pig from a homeless man. I wish my family tree didn't suck.
Would you like to buy a new one?
What? Really? I can do that?
Sure. At Ancestry.com, we'll erase your old ancestors from history. Birth certificates, evidence of inbreeding with marriage certificates, arrest records, dishonorable discharges from the military, everything.
Wow. And I can have a new family lineage?
No problem. Ancestry.com will invent a whole new family lineage for you. From birth certificates to old family photographs? How would you like us to link you to a royal family?
Would I ever?
And for a little extra, we'll even provide documentation including DNA records, linking you to a real rich living relative so you can file a claim for paternity or inheritance.
Wow, I'm gonna be rich.
Ancestry.com, because you deserve better than your loser inbred family lineage.
Everyone who is important listens to this show. Yes, everyone. Everyone at the IRS, the NSA, the FBI, and even those Chinese spies. So when you call Glenn, make it count. They are listening. Let's get back to the show. Here's Glenn Woods.
So DJ in the front office tells me that Enemy Within Radio is currently listening on Spreaker. Good, because I've tuned into you guys a few times. Spreaker is a place, it's worth checking out. Oh, by the way, everybody watching on the video stream right now, still watching the snow cam. Look at that coming down there. Jeez. It's springtime in Wyoming. What do you expect? Spreaker is spelled just the way it sounds. Speaker with an R in there, Spreaker. And there's all sorts of interesting programs that you can listen to off of Spreaker if you like. See, I used to lay around at night. I still got it up here. My sister got this for me. I used to lay around at night and tune into shortwave radio up and down the dial and listen to all sorts of people who had programs in shortwave radio. But then along came the internet. There's not much on this little box anymore. So here come all the podcasts out there. And there's really some interesting programs. Now, not everybody has a professional sounding program. You know something? That's what I like about it. Just a lot of good, average, decent people who have something to say. And they get on and mouth off about it, and sometimes they even have guests, and they do some really good programs out there. So Spreaker is a good. That's, by the way, who has the app for the program. If you go to your app store, it's free. Just type in Bold Republic, and you can listen to the program whenever you want to. It actually runs through Spreaker. So hello there, Enemy Within Radio. Glad you're tuning into the program now. That kind of goes back and forth because I listen to them too. All right, so since I was talking about tax-free and we could maybe, we're never going to be tax-free. I understand some government is a necessary evil. I don't think we should anywhere near have the size of government that we have right now. I'm for doing things as simple as possible. So as simple as possible is one of the reasons I like the fair tax. There's really no paperwork involved, no need for an IRS. And you know, the moment the IRS was created, you know, the first thing that happened with it, it was used as a hammer by that president at that time against the opposition political party. It's used to control you and your behavior. They tax things they don't want you to do. They give you tax breaks on things they want you to do. It gives them a look into your finances and how you move money around. The tax isn't just about collecting money for all of their pet projects, and so they can line their pockets with stolen money from across the country, which they do. Look, money is collected by the IRS. It goes to Washington, D.C., and how much of it just disappears into the ether? I read you these stories every single year. Billions of dollars disappear. Billions, hell, tens of billions of dollars. Disappear every single year in Washington, D.C., just vanishes into the ether. I have no idea where it went. And politicians and bureaucrats, somehow they retire millionaires on their meager little salaries. Wonder what's going on there. So they don't need to make anywhere near what they do, but okay. Then there are places like New York City that are running commercials like this.
The new New York is open. Open to innovation. Open to ambition. Open to bold ideas. That's why New York has a new plan. Dozens of tax-free zones all across the state. Move here, expand here, or start a new business here and pay no taxes for 10 years. We're New York. If there's something that creates more jobs and grows more businesses, we're open to it. Start a tax-free business at startupny.com.
Now, I looked at this and I thought, first question out of the box. This is so easy. If you know that lowering taxes or no taxes solves the problem, then why don't you just lower taxes across the entire state? What's with the tax-free zone, and what's with 10 years? Well, the problem is even more than that. Very narrow tax cut. You have to qualify. Only certain kinds of businesses actually qualify. No surprise there. And you're signing an agreement to stay there after the 10 years where they're probably going to make up for all the taxes that they lost. God only knows. So right away, smart business people looked at this and thought, well, obviously that's a scam. Of course it's a scam. I'm not going to move to New York City and pick up on a deal like that. So New York City has spent millions of dollars running that ad across the country, about $28 million. And how effective has it been? Well, it helped them lose $28 million. No one's really going for it. It's the problem. Now, if they just lowered taxes to make it reasonable, people would move their businesses there.
Well, I used to be a Democrat, liberal, no doubt. I didn't think conservatives knew what life's about. And then I started leaving the Fox News channel on. If that's the face of the right, I'll tell the left so long. Oh, I want a girl like the girls on Fox News. Everyone is beautiful, anyone you choose. Whoever does the hiring knows how to light my fuse. I want a girl like the girls on Fox News. And there's Gretchen, Megan, and Martha, Harris and Patty Ann, Janice, Jenna and Julie, Maria, Anna and Allison, Dana, Ainsley, Andrea, Uma, Shannon, Molly, and Heather. Hey, is there even a Heather?
Yeah.
There's two.
Yeah, two.
There's two Mollys, too?
Yeah.
Perfect. Well, they make the bad news on TV look a whole lot better. Now, please don't call me shallow, a pervert, or insane. Cause who the heck does not love beauty with brains? I bet you that Bill Clinton, when Hillary walks in, quickly switches back from Fox to MSBN. Bet Bill wants a girl like the girls on Fox News. Everyone is beautiful, anyone you choose. Whoever does the hiring knows how to light my fuse. I want a girl like the girls on Fox News. Now to Ducey, Kilmeade, and Bowling, Brett, Shep, and Sean, and all them other hairy-legged Geraldos you put on. I ask you all one question: who would you rather watch? Cavuto or Courtney Friel interview Ed Koch? Cause honey sure beats vinegar to wash down the news we need. No one else comes close, well, except for maybe Rob and me. They got your blondes and brunettes, even redheads too, which proves that they're the only ones with fair and balanced news. Oh, I want a girl like the girls on Fox News. I'd settle for an hour there in Billy Helmer's shoes. Can't help but the network girls' egos get bruised. I want a girl like the girls on Fox News. More cowbell! And I like Michelle Malkin, she never makes my red state blue. And if my wife would let me, hey, I'd marry Michelle too. Save some love for Greta, she's the smartest, y'all. Bet when she's off the record, she's the wildest of them all. Now I'm a Fox News junkie, I watch it all I can. My liberal days are over, hope Bob Beckel understands. And I believe in everything O'Reilly has to say, especially when he has Kimberly Guilfoyle on that day. Oh, I want a girl like the girls on Fox News. Everyone is beautiful, anyone you choose. Whoever does the hiring knows how to light my fuse. I want a girl like the girls on Fox News. Hey, I want a girl like the girls on Fox News. No, honey, I love you. I mean, if I wasn't married to you, I would love that. I mean, they're awesome. But you're the most awesomeness. Really. I swear, honey.
When you dance, dance like nobody is watching. And when you call Glenn, talk like the NSA and IRS are listening. Because most likely they are.
Guess who?
And they haven't had their daily dose of irreverent, insulting sarcasm today. We're counting on you. Call the show now.
It's a Bold Republic Radio Show. My name is Glenn Woods. Thanks for joining me. Phone number to get involved in the action, 307-363-4093. Oh, Dan, I'm opening the phones. I've been talking taxes this whole time, and here's the rules if you're new to the show. You have to talk about what I'm talking about. Until I get to the part of the show, which I'm at right now, that you can change the subject, interrupt me if you have to, that's just fine. 307-363-4093. If you're listening on Spreaker, like Enemy Within Radio, just leave a message and it'll get passed to me. If you're watching on the video stream, how you doing? You can just go ahead and leave a message in the box. I'll see it and I can answer. Those on radio stations out there or listening on the app, that's the phone number. 307-363-4093 is the phone number. So, okay, in the European Union, they have an antitrust chief to make a statement on Google. Apparently, the Internet's in trouble. By the way, I'm still waiting for Congress to wake up. Never going to happen. And just do what they can. They really, all they have to do to get a hold of the Internet here in the United States, this is so simple. All you have to do to take the Internet back from the FCC is to turn to the FCC and say, we are Congress, we will cut off your money. That's it. We will cut off your money. So you're going to let go of the FCC. That's it. Now, in Europe, it doesn't work that way. Everything in Europe has to be under control of the government because, well, they're more socialist than we currently are. Brussels, European Competition Commissioner, will make a statement today after the weekly meeting of the EU's Executive Committee. Oh, dear God, these people. She's expected to accuse Google of abusing its dominant position in Internet search engines following 5 years of investigations. They're just trying to find a way to stick it to Google. That's all there is to it. Google's on top. Google is on top for a reason. But don't forget now, they can be knocked off their perch. Remember, America Online used to be number one? Someone can knock Google off. But they just are trying to find a way to get a hold of Google, to get a hold of the Internet, to control it. And right now, a company like Google is completely out of... Why aren't they? Are they investigating other Internet service providers to see if they're doing anything wrong? I wonder. Jeff is holding on the phone. Hi, Jeff. What you got for me?
Hey, how you doing?
I'm alive. Kicking.
You were talking about the tax where it's basically a sales tax. I've got a twist to that. I say if we get rid of the currency, as in other words, the dollar bill, the coins and things like that, we can get rid of the Bureau of Engraving, get rid of the U.S. Mint, and all the taxes are collected through the electronic transactions that we do. So, in other words, everything that the economy generates gets captured. All the money spent would get captured. So there's no more of the you'll do it for cash on the side and not get taxed on those things. Well, they're supposed to be illegal. They happen. We all know it. But the great thing is we can get rid of the IRS and we get rid of two other bureaucracies in the meantime.
Yeah.
And the only thing you have to look at is what do the banks have to gain? How do you keep them fair?
Now, I see where you're going with that. Now, let me give you the inevitable side effect. I'm going to play devil's advocate for you. As long as human beings have been trading with each other, and as long as governments have been trying to control the trade, there is always an underground economy. So the moment you say, it's kind of like Bitcoin. You've heard of Bitcoin, right?
Yep.
That's underground money.
Say, like Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Right.
So as soon as you say, okay, we're getting rid of the currency and all of that, we're just going to do this online thing, and that's how everybody's doing business, and it may actually be a great system. Somebody is going to figure out how to make more money by going around the system, and then right away government is going to start writing laws against it, and quickly we head right down the same path we were before because, well, that's humans for you. Do you think I'm on track with that? Yeah. I think I'm just taking a look at what human nature is. I think we wind up in the same position again just because we're stupid like that.
I don't think to the same scale. You're always going to have that underground, but that underground is such a small percentage of the legal tender, legal transactions that take place.
Yeah.
If you get too far underground, too much to the underground, it'll get captured.
True.
Okay? It only stays underground when it's small. Once it becomes big, it becomes taxed.
There you go. Now, here's something that I think, because you and I, it sounds like you and I would agree on most things here. Here's something that I would like to see, and I think it's sort of in line with what you're talking about. Why did we ever allow the government to control the currency? Because originally the currency was controlled by your bank. In other words, you went and put money in the bank, and if you ever wanted to move that money around, the bank would issue you notes. You would go literally put your gold and silver in the bank, and they would issue you notes that represented that people could go cash in. So why not, if we're going to go to some system like this, why have the government control it?
Oh, I agree.
Yeah.
Your paycheck gets deposited directly to the bank account.
Sure.
There is no more currency.
That's
if
right.
I look at my bank account now, and I have $155.76,
Mm-hmm.
I have basically a $155.76 bill.
Yep.
Okay? That's my currency. Then all it is a number. You know, just because we have a $20 bill in our pocket doesn't really represent anything other than a method of trade.
Right.
That method of trade can be done electronically, and most of us do this now.
Yeah.
I haven't written a check in 2 years.
I am
I
shocked.
do everything electronically.
I'm blown away every time I'm at the grocery store behind someone who's writing a check. Just completely blows me away.
Oh,
but
yeah.
I'm not disagreeing with you. I just got to play devil's advocate with you one more time, then I got to let you go. Okay, here's one more time.
Okay.
Okay, sounds like a great idea. One word. Hackers.
We got to have the chip system. We can't do it with mag stripes right now.
Yeah.
Our infrastructure is not ready for it.
Yep.
It'll take us a couple, 3 years to do that. We're going that way now.
Mm-hmm.
For example, I could pay with Apple Pay. In fact, I love it because I'm lazy. People are lazy. With Apple Pay on a iPhone 6, it's your thumbprint, it's your signature. I don't have to sign anything.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, see, I throw out hackers because, you know, if we have counterfeiters with paper money, and let's face it, there are people who are counterfeiting credit cards as well. Then if you go to this kind of system, somebody's going to figure out how to counterfeit it. So I'm not saying it's a bad idea. I'm just saying, we're going to have to think about that too, aren't we?
There's going to be certain establishments that may have their internal currency.
Mm-hmm.
People would have to buy it and get taxed on it. Let's say, for lack of they're out there.
See,
but a gentleman's club.
See, that's because you and I understand something about money that, unfortunately, people graduating even college don't understand. It's just a tool of exchange. It was never meant to be anything more.
Exactly.
And the moment we made something more, we screwed up the whole system.
If it were, it has to say "In God We Trust" because it's really just a piece of paper.
There you go. Hey, Jeff, very interesting phone call. Thanks for calling in. I appreciate it.
You bet. No problem.
BoldRepublic.com. We should be careful about calling things ugly. You know, some of the ugliest things are beautiful. For example, ladies, jewelry that you've hidden in your jewelry box. Ugly things. You're embarrassed to wear them. To you, they're ugly. Listen to me, ladies. That jewelry is beautiful. This is Bruce at Marshall Jewelry here in Gillette. When gold is at almost $1,200 an ounce, it's beautiful. No matter how awful it looks, it's worth some serious change. So bring those ugly pieces into our store. We'll figure out the value and you get paid right then and there. That's beautiful, isn't it? Marshall Jewelry, where she'll love it, guaranteed.
Daydreaming, son. It's time to get prepared. Time to get off your sofa and run yourself down to Surplus Unlimited in the Gun Traders building. Oh, my! 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Civilian soldier, they got everything you could need. That's right, the Surplus is unlimited. Surplus Unlimited ammo for babies and adults.
That's right, babies need camo too.
10 different styles of camo.
Oh, don't you look pretty.
550 cord, numerous colors. Wool blankets, boots, hats, gloves, coats, shirts, tactical vests and belts, camping supplies, high-quality army cots, and that hard-to-find P38 can opener. Save time, save money. Surplus Unlimited in the Gun Traders building. 801 Carlisle on the Douglas Highway across from the fishing lake. Gillette, Wyoming.
Hi, my name is Jacqueline McKinney, owner of Fast and Furious Detailing. Do you need your RV or toy hauler cleaned? We will get it ready for you, so all you have to do is go have some fun. Or how about after fun, we can clean it up. We will even wash all of your bedding for you. Does your boat have dark film all around the outside of it? No problem. Fast and Furious Detailing is a full-service detailing company. We detail cars, SUVs, trucks, RVs, toy haulers, boats, ATVs, UTVs, and motorcycles. Fast and Furious Detailing hopes you can find everything you need. Our company is focused on providing high-quality service and customer satisfaction. We will do everything we can to meet your expectations. With a variety of offerings to choose from, we're sure you'll be happy working with us. We're located at 5753 South Windland Drive, and our phone number is 307-682-2470.
Pool leagues, dart leagues. Saturday night is ladies' night. Poker every Wednesday night. Domestic beers and draft on sale, and special daily dollar shop. We even have a packaged liquor drive-thru and many other things for you. It's Lakeside Liquor, open Monday through Saturday, 6 a.m. till 2 a.m. Sunday, 11 till 11, because you need to relax after where you've been. Work is hard for the ladies and gents. Come to Lakeside Liquor. Relax and vent. Lakeside Liquors across from Wyoming Work Warehouse in Gillette.
Welcome to the Church of Global Warming.
Sorry, I just came in to get out of the cold. You don't mind, do you?
Well, you know, the cold outside is due to global warming.
Wait, wasn't this the same church that said that this part of the world was going to be a sandy desert by now?
Global warming works in mysterious ways.
Right, kind of like God works in mysterious ways.
Hey, careful how you talk about the Obama.
You know, I think I'll just wait outside and suffer in the driving blizzard. Besides, it's freezing cold in here.
That's because global warming froze over the wind turbine blades in the clouds, and snow and ice cover the solar panels, you idiot!
No, Glenn, it doesn't matter if you're part owner of the company. No cigars in the studio. Oh, what is that smell? Put your shoes back on. I don't want to smell that. Look, if you want good talent, you have to put up with some bad habits. Let's get back in there with the original bad habit boy, Glenn Woods.
Boy, that's snow cam. You know what we need to do is get a hold of Tim in Tampa if he's available, so he can do the Tampa cam to compare it to our Wyoming snow cam. That ought to be. We one time did that. We one time got Tim in Tampa outside in the 90-degree weather, and then we had Dan outside in the snow to compare weather forecasts. So we have a little currency debate going on here. Here's what's happening. From Chris. He said Bitcoin started out as a way to avoid standard banking and cash systems and created an underground market. It was tax-free and still able to purchase products of any kind. Interesting, you're right, and that's why. Let's go back to what Jeff and I were just saying. What is money really? Because a lot of people misunderstand what money is. It's just a tool of exchange. It's an agreed-upon tool of exchange. So whatever we decide to use as a currency, however we decide to do it, we have a agreed-upon tool of exchange. And you see what happens when government gets control of that tool. Well, because there are a bunch of tools, that's why. Todd, listening on the video stream, says, I wouldn't like a currency that isn't able to be in my hands. It makes it too easy to seize. I absolutely hate recurring payments on my bank accounts for services, withdrawals, in other words, computer mistakes, human mistakes. That's one of the things that I understand, completely understand. When people like to have things that are automatically debited, I completely understand that. But for the most part, not with everything, but most of what I do, I prefer not to have automatic withdrawals just because, look, I make fewer mistakes when I'm in charge of my own money than people out there who don't even know me and are just crunching numbers all day long and they don't really care about who you are. They make far more mistakes and are not really thrilled when you call up and ask, would you correct that, please?
first ever prescription depressant hit the shelves today. Approved by the FDA last month, Despondex is intended as a treatment for the approximately 20 million Americans who are insufferably cheery. Tests prove the drug is effective at reducing a range of symptoms, from squealing loudly when a friend calls to use of the phrase cool beans and excessive hugging. Dr. Alman Way calls the drug a huge step forward in the battle against exuberance.
If you're in a good mood every so often, well, that's fine. That's normal. This is for those that have a persistent positive outlook on life.
Eva Henry of New Haven, Connecticut began participating in a clinical trial of Despondex 6 weeks ago.
I was always telling people how cute their outfits were and bringing them little gifts. I'd beam at anyone who made eye contact with me. I didn't realize life didn't have to be like that.
Eva said she never knew how her annoyingly chipper attitude was affecting those around her.
Over and over again, I'd ask Jeff to ride his bike down to the botanical garden with me. No matter how many times he said no.
And she was always smiling, but I didn't know what to do to help her.
I used to think, why am I the only one trying to set up single friends with each other? And now I realize it. I was sick. I needed treatment.
Eva says the drug may have saved their marriage.
Now Jeff and I can just waste a night sitting on the couch, watching a TV show neither of us enjoy, like a regular couple.
Not everyone is convinced that Despondex is the cure-all for perkiness, however. In this week's Time magazine, Michael Polosic of UCLA argues that many patients get similar results from natural remedies, something as simple as a diet of corn syrup and white bread and a total lack of exercise. But Dr. Way disagrees.
We have to erase the stigma attached with getting chirpy people help, real medical help. I mean, do you know what it's like to be around these people? It's pretty annoying.
Doctors estimate the new drug could reduce the number of costume or theme parties in the U.S. by up to 40%.
I remember the moment.
I'll never forget that moment.
That changed my life.
At that moment, it hit me. This is why I joined the Guard. We're soldiers, always ready to protect our country. But we've also got communities. Family, friends, neighbors who count on us. I couldn't believe it. I just saved the life to somebody from my hometown.
See what it means to be a citizen soldier at NationalGuard.com.
Well, I like guns, I like the way they look. I like the shiny steel and the polished wood. I don't care if they're big or small. If they're for sale, hell, I want them all. I like guns. I like guns. I like guns. I really like 22 now, 45 lever with the Winchester tag. I like my double barrel, had it most of my life. 357 was a present from my wife. I like guns, I like the...
It's the Bold Republic Radio Show, Wednesday, Tax Day edition. My name is Glenn Woods. Thanks for joining me. Phone number if you want to get involved in the action, 307-363-4093. That's 307-363-4093. And yeah, you can change the subject if you want to at this point in the show. Interrupt me if you have to. That's just fine. I played the gun song because Third Circuit Court of Appeals sides with Walmart. No ban on high-capacity magazine sales. April 8th, Breitbart News reported Walmart was awaiting a verdict on their appeal of a case against them by New York City's Trinity Church. The suit was filed to force Walmart to allow shareholders to vote on the sale of high-capacity guns, which are like AR-15s and so on, high-capacity magazines. So, okay. In this particular case, the April 14th, the U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals for the Third Circuit decided Walmart's favor, reversing an earlier ruling. According to the legal interpretation, Third Circuit decision came 1 week, a day after hearing of an argument against a case full opinion. It gets into the whole news of it. Trinity Church wanted shareholders to be able to vote on high-capacity sales. Here's basically what they did. The church bought a bunch of stock in Walmart with the idea that now that we have some stock, we can go ahead and force them from within to make some decisions. The reason the judge ruled against them is because when you buy the stock, that's not part of the agreement. There, boom, simple as done as that. And these are the same people that, we come across this all the time, that have the mistaken idea that the size of the magazine has anything to do with how fast somebody can fire and reload. Well, I can show you, in fact, I can do it myself, doesn't take much practice. You can swap out with just a little practice. You can swap out a magazine in a blink of an eye, which means magazine capacity means absolutely nothing here. So, okay, you got to go check this out. This is from, since I mentioned earlier, Tim from Tampa, this is right from his backyard. There's a guy who landed on the Capitol Hill lawn today. He landed a small helicopter on the lawn of the Capitol in Washington, D.C. The reason I mentioned Tim from Tampa is because this is a guy, he has been working for the post office his entire life. That's what he does for a living. He owns a small little itsy-bitsy helicopter. It's a tiny little thing. And he decided that it was time just to take on corporate greed in Washington, D.C. When the corporations show up and dump their money on the politicians and bureaucrats to get their way. That's what he wanted to, just specifically that one point, that's what he wanted to fight. So he got letters. Boy, did this guy get letters. Lots of them. And he jam-packed his helicopter with, well, he had a couple of boxes below. This thing's just a little tiny gyrocopter, so you know. It's not, for those people watching on video stream, take a look at your video stream right now. It looks like a little bit bigger than a shopping cart, but with 3 wheels. Okay. And a little propeller blade up above, just enough weight to carry him and his little bags of mail. Being a mail delivery guy, he's good at this. Now, to give him credit for what he did, he wanted to make sure that nobody accused him of being a terrorist. So, as an act of protest, he actually called Capitol Police in Washington, D.C. and let them know what he was going to do and when he was going to do it. The only thing they really didn't know is where he was going to take off. He was able to pull into town, dragging the thing behind him on a trailer, a little helicopter on a trailer, and then pull into a parking lot somewhere, and literally the engine starts like a outboard motor on a motorboat. So he just went ahead and started the engine, took off, flew over a few blocks of Washington, D.C., and landed right in the grass in the front, right out there in front of the Capitol, just to deliver those messages, just because he had something he wanted to say. Now, yes, he was promptly arrested on the spot. You got to give the guy credit because, look, you ever been to Washington, D.C.? For those who haven't, last time I was in D.C., I thought it's always this way. It never stops, unless the weather's really bad. There's protests going on all over the place, and in most cases, it's difficult to understand what they're even protesting because they're so poorly conceived and poorly executed. Can't even tell what these people are supposed to be protesting. But there's all sorts of protests from all sorts of different walks of life. And there's people who've set up stages and they're doing music, and there's artists out there, and there's people with megaphones. But you know something? I actually enjoy that. It's the capital of what's supposed to be the freest nation. We're now the free-ish nation. But it's supposed to be the freest nation in the world, which means, of course, people can show up and protest like that. I just think they are completely disorganized and are ineffective. This guy, though, got exactly what he was after. He wanted to get national attention. Okay, he certainly did that. He got national attention. And all he's saying is, enough with big money and big corporations showing up in Washington, D.C. Hey, Tim, this guy lives in Riverview. I mean, that's just up the road from you in Tampa.
And as the countdown is on for House and Senate Republicans to reach an agreement and pass a joint budget resolution, the GOP hopes new leadership will help their cause. One America's Augusta Cassida brings us more from Washington.
It's a busy week here on Capitol Hill. Lawmakers are back and Republicans have just hours left to agree on a federal budget for 2016. Republican members in both the House and Senate are hoping to work through disagreements on reconciliation, meaning a faster procedure that would allow the Senate to pass legislation by a simple majority vote. That's something the House would like to see applied to more than just the president's signature health care law. Of course, this doesn't come without opposition from the left. Democrats feel the Republican budget points America in the wrong direction. Ranking member on the Senate Budget Committee, Bernie Sanders, feels it's Robin Hood in reverse.
At a time when the middle class of this country is disappearing and we have more people living in poverty than almost any time in modern American history, and at a time when the wealthiest people in large corporations are doing phenomenally well, what this budget does is take from those people who are hurting to give to those people who certainly don't need it.
The independent senator specifically highlights GOP proposed spending cuts to transportation, education, and job training, and what he feels will hurt the middle class.
From a moral perspective, from an economic perspective, this budget is a disaster, and I will do everything I can in the weeks in front of us to try to improve it, to try to make sure that at least there are some benefits in it for the middle class and working families.
Chairmen Tom Price and Mike Enzi of the House and Senate Budget Committees cut their Easter recess short, returning to Capitol Hill last week to work on the budget. They're optimistic that the party will be able to bring fiscal responsibility back to Washington, and success would be a testament to the GOP's leadership. But the clock is ticking as we inch increasingly close to that April 15th deadline. Augusta Cassidy, One American News, Washington.
Jenkins!
Yes, sir?
Jenkins, it seems that the minimum wage will be going up again.
Yes, sir? Who should I fire?
Everyone below your pay grade, Jenkins.
Really? That's almost everyone, sir.
Yes, I know. And you'll have to pick up a few extra duties to take up the slack.
Sir, I was just promoted. I really don't want to go back to public restroom duty.
Well, I tell you what. You only have to clean out the executive restroom. How's that?
That would be your bathroom you use, sir?
Yeah.
I'd rather clean the public restroom, sir.
Oh, by the way, Jenkins, how's that new Affordable Care Act working for you?
Can't afford it, sir.
You've probably been reduced to sleeping in the back of your car.
They repossessed my car, sir. I've been sleeping in the back of yours.
Have you? Well, you'll need to move over with all these government improvements. I'll be moving in with you real soon. I call shotgun.
Damn it.
The West. We moved here to be free, to get away from overbearing government rules, regulations, taxes, and to secure our liberty, except that they found us. So we have to restore the West to what it was meant to be, and we have a plan.
Sorry, sir. You don't speak English. You in Mexico. You make wrong turn.
Let's move them along, folks. Herd them on through.
Hey! Can't you read, boy? No guns, no service. Where's your sidearm?
Whenever you come across a California license plate, or someone from the East Coast like Massachusetts or New York, do whatever you can to keep them moving.
Sorry, sir. Wyoming has declared California license plates illegal. So has Montana, South Dakota, North Dakota, and Nebraska. I'm afraid you can't stop until you get to Illinois.
Yes, the West will be the West again. As soon as we run off all the bleeding hearts, and we're working on it. Help us out, won't you? Brought to you by the Restore the West Foundation. Birds, let's face it, they're annoying. They're everywhere, filling the skyways and dropping their little droppings on our automobiles, on our homes, and causing billions of dollars of damage every single year, eating gardens right down to the nub, including the seeds. And of course, we've all seen Alfred Hitchcock's movie, The Birds. Yes, birds cost the American economy billions of dollars every year in damage, and billions of dollars to our economy by slowing down traffic at airports, and even bringing down planes by dangerously flying into the engines. So how do we rid the skyways of these pesky creatures? We've found a way. Windmills are the answer. Yes, environmentally friendly because they don't use pesticides. Massive churning windmill blades bring down birds by the hundreds every single day. And thanks to Barack Obama's incentives and subsidies, windmill farms are now popping up around the country. Last year alone, we killed over 500,000 of these pesky
creatures, maybe right in your own backyard. Join us, won't you? Call your congressman. Ask for more windmills and more windmill subsidies so we can rid the skies of these pesky, costly nuisance creatures we call birds. Brought to you by the Coalition for Cleaner, Safer Skies. You're listening to the Bacon Radio Network.
Not even mass corruption, not even a smidgen of corruption. Okay.
The IRS has been targeting conservative groups.
Do you believe that there is not a smidgen of corruption in the IRS targeting of conservatives?
On the advice of my counsel, I respectfully exercise my Fifth Amendment right.
Tales. Stories made up from whole cloth. Lies.
Another day, another delay related to Obamacare.
The nonpartisan Congressional Budget Office estimating Obamacare will cause Americans to leave the workforce.
Her monthly premium jumps $260.
I have not done anything wrong. I have not broken any laws.
The missing emails extend from 2009 to 2011, a period when Lerner headed the IRS's Exempt Organizations Division.
And that was the same time the IRS was using unfair and biased criteria to target and punish conservative groups.
Irreverent, but honest and tastefully tacky somehow. Here comes another hour of insensitivity training with Glenn Woods.
Final hour of the program, and I got a lot of house cleaning to do, including a way the government found to protect one generation by robbing from another generation. We'll take a look at it. Here we go. It's the Bold Republic Radio Show. My name is Glenn Woods. Thanks for joining me. Phone number, of course, 307-363-4093 if you can make it. This Saturday, Cheyenne, Wyoming. We're going to be at the library in Cheyenne, Wyoming, in the Cottonwood Room. I'm one of the speakers there. It's all about organizing the Tea Party, getting it together again, and finding out what we can do to actually make some changes, because we need to have a discussion about that. It's going to be a very interesting rally with some important speakers like two-time gubernatorial candidate in Wyoming, Taylor Haynes is one of them, but many other people, including other radio hosts from around the region. So that's going to be this Saturday. Starts at 3 o'clock, Cottonwood Room. And that is in Cheyenne, Wyoming. So I hope to see you there. So, okay. There's this thing called the Doc Fix. Now, last night, lo and behold, I'm sitting and having a conversation with a doctor about this. And I can give you a lot of details about the Doc Fix. And you do need to know some about it so we know what we're talking about. But I'm not going to get into all of the details because it gets to be a lot to explain. But basically, and you know this is a bad deal. Here's the start. From Freedom Works, the beginning of the story. Representative John Boehner and Representative Nancy Pelosi, along with 390 other of the House of Representatives, have the Medicare Doc Fix ready to go. Okay. So you know, and you always, it just, oh my God, every time I see this picture, I hate to do this to you guys, but okay. You know it's bad. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a Bold Republic barf bag moment. You may completely heave, oh, I shouldn't have, no, let me take that away. Don't look at your camera yet. You may go ahead and throw up entirely, or you might just throw up in your mouth a little bit and need some mouthwash. So I'm going to say just this is a standby just in case. Grab your Bold Republic barf bags if you don't have one. Then you can get one. Just go to boldrepublic.com, and you'll see all the different ways you can get a hold of me right there, including my own email address, and we'll send you Bold Republic barf bags for when government makes you sick. So every time I think of John Boehner and Nancy Pelosi getting together, I always end up with this picture in my mind of John Boehner and Pelosi standing there at the speaker's podium. Both of them are holding on to the gavel. Oh, God. And she has this just euphoric look on her face and her eyes closed as he leans over and gives her a kiss on the cheek. At least you threw over your mouth a little bit on that one, didn't you? Okay, you can't say I didn't warn you. All right, so what is it? Well, basically, there's no way with Medicare, the way they have the system set up, there's no way they can pay for this. They've overpromised. Whatever it is you think the system does, they've overpromised, and so many people who have no business being on the system have gotten onto the system to take advantage of it. It is driving states bankrupt. It is part of what's driving your federal government bankrupt. So they have to make some cuts somewhere. So they decide, well, we're going to cut back on what doctors make. And every time they get closer to this system going bankrupt, they cut back more on what the doctors make. That's the Reader's Digest version, okay? To the point that doctors are just dropping. We're just not going to cut. We're not going to take this anymore. You can send your Medicare recipients somewhere else. We're not doing it. So they have to come up with what they call the doc fix. We're going to have to find a way so we don't cut, because we cut their pay anymore. They're operating at a loss as it is. Honestly. If they're accepting these patients, they're operating at a loss. Can't make it any more of a loss. So we got to find a way to solve the problem. Answer? Well, the current generations that are paying or living off of or benefiting from, however you want to put it, the current generation, don't worry, there are future generations who have not even been born yet. They are more than happy. We asked them. They are more than happy to pay for this. So they're just going to go ahead and borrow over $100 billion, and that's just the current this is borrowing this much money is just to fix it for now. They're going to have to borrow even more later on down the road. That adds to your national debt. So rather than finding an honest, legitimate way to reform the system, here's a way, here's a thought to reform the system. There's a lot of people that are on this system who have no business being on it. They're moochers. They're all over the country. Get them off. Next, quit promising so much. Let's just start with that. Which drives me crazy when I say, oh, by the way, where I am, I'm in the state of Wyoming, where I am. We have Governor Matt Mead. Governor Matt Mead has an R by his name for Republican. Governor Matt Mead wants to be a Republican about as much as Barack Obama wants to be an American. It's that bad. The people who thought they were voting for a conservative were voting for a Democrat. This is one of the few Republicans out there that actually wants to expand Medicaid in their state. And people like me who are arguing until we're blue in the face, Governor, don't do it. The federal government's promising our state all sorts of money if you expand it, but they don't have the money to do this. Have you looked at the debt? Well, this ought to prove it. In order to fix the system, you know what they need to do? Borrow a bunch more money. Okay. And there was a story I gave you guys yesterday, and I think it's still up there. Oh, yeah, here it is. It's still on my Daily Outrage page because I knew I was going to have to bring it up again today. Headline, Congressional Budget Office says feds, the federal government, are taxing more and spending more and running a bigger deficit in 2015. Currently, we're running a bigger deficit than we were in 2014. Just so you know. And to that, I want to turn to the Republicans like John Boehner, like Mitch McConnell in the Senate. So your idea to fix this federal entitlement program is to borrow more money. Do you have your representatives on speed dial, folks? You really should. Do you have your representatives on, well, why do I even say speed dial anymore? Is there anything, do we need speed dial anymore? There used to be a thing called speed dial on your phone. You'd reach over to your phone, and there was those numbers that you called frequently. You can just hit the button, and it would just speed dial it. Do we even need that anymore with today's cell phones? Well, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that's kind of an obsolete feature now. Because everybody's doing cell phones these days, right? Okay, anyway. So get your representatives on your phone so you can call them, so you can email them, whatever you have to do. Let them know right now, hey, Republicans. We did not get you guys into office because we were going, yay, Republicans, we love you guys. No, we just had to stop what was happening with the Democrats. Oh, dear God. So we had to make a change of some kind, but now we still wound up with a bunch of establishment Republicans who are still not getting it. So the Republicans need to know we did not give you guys the House and the Senate so you can do this. So you can solve the entitlement programs by borrowing more money from future generations. For the love of God, stop. There's a reason that we sent you. And the reason is to get this stuff under control through reform. You need to put them on your contact list. Okay, that's DJ says put them on your contact list. Okay. I have an idea, DJ. Let me know. Because I think it depends on what kind of phone you have, because not everybody has the same kind of phone. DJ, on your phone, I assume you can choose whatever kind of picture or icon you want. I know you can choose the ringtone or the ring sound effect for that matter, music, whatever. I mean, sound, music, tone, whatever you want to do. So you can go ahead and put up whatever picture you want, right? So for whatever representative, there's got to be pictures out there that, oh yes, she says, of course. Good, okay. So I would think you would want to put pictures up there that put you in the proper mood whenever you go. The kind of picture that makes you want to just take your finger or your thumb for that matter and squish your representative's face when you're dialing them. Because that's what you pull up their picture, you pop it, and it dials for you, right? Okay, so let's have some kind of a picture that makes you just want to take your thumb and just jam it into their face and grind it in there. Now you're in the mood to call these people. Hey, listen, butthead, I did not vote for you to go there and borrow a whole bunch of money to fix some entitlement program, because guess what? Borrowing all of this money is not fixing the entitlement program. That's not a fix. Here, let me give you a visual for it. There is a tin can. And what you have just done is you have kicked that tin can down the road, sucker. That's what you've done. You're kicking the can down the road by trying to do the doc fix by borrowing over $100 million, which future generations, by the way, are not going to be able to pay back at the rate we're going here. It's not possible for it to be done. So where's the actual fix for this? Okay. That one, you hear me complain about the politicians? Okay, that one's also on us, by the way. That's also on us to fix, because in order to make sure that the politicians understand that this needs to be fixed, it's going to take us harassing them to make sure it gets fixed. And that's not just calling your politicians. That's writing letters to the editor, to the local newspaper, getting your face on television. If you're not someone who's really good at that sort of thing, get with your friends who are good. I mean, do you know someone who's good at writing letters? Like letters to the editor for the newspaper? Sit down, get with them, and do a letter writing campaign, do an email campaign. I mean, in other words, get a lot of attention for this topic, because that's the only way the changes are made. That's what this Tea Party thing that we're going to down in Cheyenne on Saturday is all about. How to get together, how to organize, how to be effective, because all of this can change anytime we want to make the change. It's on us at this point.
Glenn Woods, BoldRepublic.com.
Hello, Americans. This is Rod with your local American-made store here in Gillette, Wyoming, where it's always made right here in the USA. Have you seen our stainless steel art? It's beautiful. Yes, and he will do custom. Framed artwork. Check out our selection. Top-of-the-line stuffed olives, flavored olive oils. And yes, we have toys and Okabashi sandals. Free pocket constitution with purchase. We are the solution for this great nation. Get informed. Don't forget your veterans. God bless America, and buy American. Matters. MyMadeInAmericastore.com.
Smithers, you look exhausted.
Oh, sir, I was at the office half the night.
Really? Well, that's the third night this week.
Yes, sir. I just can't seem to stay away. I'm not sure what's gotten into me.
Dedication, son. I haven't seen that kind of work ethic in years.
Right. Well, I'll probably be at the office late again tonight. There's just so much to do.
You'll want to work late every night at the Office Saloon with Doc McGillicuddy Monday, Tap That Tuesday, Screw It Wednesdays, Thirsty Thursdays, and thank God it's Friday with Bud and Bud Light specials. And at the office, you'll even want to work weekends, Saturday nights, ladies' nights, and mini-me Sundays. Work late at the Office Saloon, U.S. Highway 14 in Gillette, Wyoming, out toward the airport.
Smithers, is there any luck with that client you've been chasing?
Oh, yes, sir. Last night, she gave me her phone number.
Attaboy, Smithers. Attaboy.
Howdy, folks. This is Swede from Swede Specialties here in Gillette. Do you know that Swede carries bottles? I mean bottles. Beer bottles, wine bottles, Easy Cap bottles, in 3 different sizes and colors. Jugs and growlers, even ice wine bottles. Plus all the corks and caps to go on them. Corkers and cappers too, plus all the makings to go in them. Give Swede a call, 686-0588, or go to swedespecialties.com.
Life is all about perspective. You see a tropical holiday. We see a business meeting. You see your grandmother. We see your inheritance. You see a kilo of Coke. We see a liquid asset. You see a tax bill. We don't see anything. You see a jail. We see record profit. What do you see with HSBC?
Do yourself a favor. Don't just listen to the show. See what Glenn's talking about at boldrepublic.com. There you can watch the show live on YouTube or download the show and listen to it later. Now let's get back in there. Here's Glenn Woods.
Okay, doing some house cleaning here. This is some topic hopping because there's all sorts of stuff that I've been trying to get to for days, and the topics are getting kind of old, so let's skim through some of these really quick here. More than 2 million of Hillary's Twitter followers are fake. And she's under fire for buying Facebook fans. See, this is why. Look, those people that are following me on Facebook and Twitter and on Google Plus are the real deal. Anybody who's followed me, I followed back, and it's a real deal. It's a real conversation. I mean, we're not faking here. So you look at the numbers; those are the real numbers. I got a kick out of when Rachel Maddow of MSNBC was caught making a bunch of fake names on Twitter in order to give herself more Twitter followers. And so here's the Hillary campaign out there doing what they just basically buying. And you can pay for that, by the way. There are companies you can pay, and they will give you followers. So if you want to look like you have like 30,000 people following you, well, they'll give you 30,000 people. You give them the money, and they will get on your accounts on social media, and they will start getting. They have a bunch of fake names. This is what believe it or not, people are doing this for a living. They have a bunch of fake names, fake accounts out there, and they just start liking you, following you, whatever the hell. That way it looks like you're a big popular person with a lot of people following. That's why I don't do that. Anybody who's following me is actually following me out there, and they're part of the conversation. So, okay, Hillary's she's off to a bad start on a lot of reasons. You don't want to be found out to have a bunch of fake followers. That's just bad news if you're someone who has a bunch of fake followers out there. So, okay. Next one, did you hear about, I've been trying to get to this one for days. There is a student who was pranking his teacher by hacking online. Now, the good news is he's only going to get a suspension for this. But basically, he was able to get online. This is from Reason.com, headline, student who pranked his teacher should get detention, not jail time, felony. So the story is here, he logged into the school's network March 31st using an administrative level password without permission. He then changed the background image on the teacher's computer to one showing men kissing. He said, I logged into the teacher's computer, who I don't like, and tried putting inappropriate pictures to annoy him. Okay, first off, stupid kid. He's only 14 years old. What do you expect? His actions certainly indefensible. He did something immature. He's 14. Of course he did something immature and stupid. So he should be punished. Okay, give him a week or two of detention, something like that, and consider harsher penalties if he gets in trouble again. What should not be done was to threaten him with maybe a cyber felony charge. This is in Florida, ladies and gentlemen. The 14-year-old student has been charged with a cyber crime after allegedly hacking into the school's computer network to change the background image. The 8th grader, who attends, who cares, was suspended from school for 10 days. Okay, I can go with that. And also charged with an offense that could actually land him in jail, according to the Tampa Bay Times. Treating every small infraction of school rules the crime requiring police involvement. That's a waste of resources, by the way. Bad for the kids, by the way. And for what reason? Well, their reasoning in this one is, well, hey, look, it's what the kid might have done. See, not what he did. What he did was he went in there and pranked his teacher. Oh no, it's what he could have done in there. He could have done so much damage to the school while in there. So he's in trouble for what he could have done, not what he did. Well, considering what he actually did was just change some pictures on the teacher's computer, what I would have done is, give him some detention time. And then, I never understood suspension, by the way. Can anyone explain suspension to me after all these years? So I did something bad, I got in trouble, so you're going to give me a vacation. You're not allowed to come back to school for 10 days. Wow, I got a 10-day vacation? So if I do something really bad and get the school officials really upset with me, I get a 10-day vacation. I get to lay around the house all day and watch TV. Cool. Never did understand that. Dangerous precedent, though. No, I mean, seriously, dangerous precedent. We're going to treat this kid like a criminal and call the police, not because of what he did, but because of what he had the potential to do. Now, here's another one. We're going to go to Texas now. This is an honor roll student. This honor roll student, 11th grader, sweet-looking young lady, too. Oh, yeah, DJ says suspension is punishment for the parents. Yeah, good point there. Well, assuming because, in some cases, DJ, the parents just leave the kid at home and they go to work. But if a parent has to stay home because the kid's that young, that's a whole nother thing. But, okay, this 11th grader, honor roll student, okay? But I think she has just a mom at this point. And the mom is not doing all of that well. So if the mom's not doing that well, and there's no other breadwinner, what does this girl do? An honor roll student in 11th grade. Well, not only does she continue to get straight A's, but she has 2 jobs before and after school. She goes to work, then she goes to school, then she goes to work. But because of her work, though, she's unfortunately had to miss several days of school, more than is allowed. And so, the Texas judge who jailed the 11th grade honor student for missing too much school, unfairly punishing the teen, yeah, that's right, quoting here, I can't understand if the child's staying out of school, running around, a bad kid, or worse. Why don't you look into it? Well, yeah, that's right, they want to jail. Well, they made her stay, it was stupid, too. She has to spend like a day in jail. So the judge here is trying to make the right decision to help out this girl. Is that what he's doing? Or is the judge just following the rules? What's what the rules say, so it's what we have to do. The girl works 2 jobs to support her mom, and she's an honor roll student. Now, if I were the judge in this case, I would have found a way. Can we get this kid any help? Is it possible to get this kid any help? What can we do for this kid? Not the rules say that she missed too much school, therefore we have to throw her in jail for a day. What lesson is that teaching her? Well, I'm telling you, there's one good lesson that's going to teach her. She's never in her life going to have any appreciation for big government. Not if they did that to her at this stage in her life. Oh, she's going to hate government. That's a good thing, I think. At least something good came out of it. All right, last half hour just ahead. For those watching on the video, let's go back to the snow cam. It's kind of picked up out there.
first ever prescription depressant hit the shelves today. Approved by the FDA last month, Despondex is intended as a treatment for the approximately 20 million Americans who are insufferably cheery. Tests prove the drug is effective at reducing a range of symptoms, from squealing loudly when a friend calls to use of the phrase cool beans and excessive hugging. Dr. Alman Way calls the drug a huge step forward in the battle against exuberance.
If you're in a good mood every so often, well, that's fine. That's normal. This is for those that have a persistent positive outlook on life.
Eva Hendry of New Haven, Connecticut began participating in a clinical trial of Despondex 6 weeks ago.
I was always telling people how cute their outfits were and bringing them little gifts. I'd beam at anyone who made eye contact with me. I didn't realize life didn't have to be like that.
Eva said she never knew how her annoyingly chipper attitude was affecting those around her.
Over and over again, I'd ask Jeff to ride his bike down to the botanical garden with me. No matter how many times he said no.
And she was always smiling, but I didn't know what to do to help her.
I used to think, why am I the only one trying to set up single friends with each other? And now I realize it. I was sick. I needed treatment.
Eva says the drug may have saved their marriage.
Now Jeff and I can just waste a night sitting on the couch, watching a TV show neither of us enjoy, like a regular couple.
Not everyone is convinced that Despondex is the cure-all for perkiness, however. In this week's Time magazine, Michael Polosic of UCLA argues that many patients get similar results from natural remedies, something as simple as a diet of corn syrup and white bread and a total lack of exercise. But Dr. Way disagrees.
We have to erase the stigma attached with getting chirpy people help, real medical help. I mean, do you know what it's like to be around these people? It's pretty annoying.
Doctors estimate the new drug could reduce the number of costume or theme parties in the U.S. by up to 40%.
The top 3 things that should outrage you about the Environmental Protection Agency. In case you haven't heard of the EPA, it's a really big government agency with a really big budget and an alarming messiah complex when it comes to advancing Big Green's agenda. Number 1, the EPA is hell-bent on raising the cost of electricity for your family. According to its own estimates, new regulations on coal-fired power plants could drive household electricity bills up by more than $1,000 a year. Oh, and these same regulations are predicted to kill off more than 600,000 jobs. Number 2, this bureaucratic government monster can't seem to keep track of its own employees or its own budget. Last year, the world discovered that John Beale, one of the EPA's climate policy experts, was actually an expert in defrauding America. Beale used little effort to convince his bosses, including current EPA Chief Gina McCarthy, that he was a CIA agent spy. We're not making this up, whose position required him to disappear for months on end while still remaining on the payroll. He ultimately cheated taxpayers out of almost $1 million. And number 3, the EPA, which should be a science-driven public service agency, is constantly getting in bed with agenda-driven environmental activists. In fact, this pillow talk has resulted in EPA talking points being taken directly from activist group materials. There is even a scheme in which the EPA encourages environmental groups to sue them in order to get a court to allow them to create stricter regulations without much input from the public. The bonus to this scheme? Taxpayers pay the court costs of the environmentalists. There's a lot more that would make you mad about the EPA. Find out more at EPAFacts.com.
Need to let off a little steam? Yep, that's why we installed phone lines into the studio. Call Glenn now. Bold Republic is on the air. Here's Glenn Woods.
It's the Bold Public Radio Show. My name is Glenn Woods. Thanks for joining me. So, last half hour of the program, don't forget, there is an app for that. If you ever want to catch the program when you want to, you don't have to just tune in when the show's live on the air. You can listen whenever you want to listen to. That's why the video stream is here. It's not just live. You can do it later, but also the app, whatever device you want. You know, you can even download from the app to your phone, so you don't have to take up any cell tower time. It's all just so you can listen when you want, and then call in when you want. Just go to, it doesn't matter. Look, if you're listening at 2 in the morning, you got a comment, call in. We'll capture your call. We'll get your information, and we'll get you back on the air later. So, in fact, I got one of those calls coming up in just a moment or so from now, from someone who called in about something I said yesterday. Online, Experiment 0789. And every time I read your name, Experiment 0789, I picture some mutated guy with superpowers that went through some kind of an experiment that is now going to be part of like the X-Men or the Avengers or something like that. I don't know. Somebody was experimenting on you like Wolverine. He wants to know, does Dan know that he was on the snow cam? Yes, Dan went outside to have a cigarette. And I got to give, to these smokers out there, they're really dedicated. It does not matter what the weather is like outside. By golly, they're going to step outside and smoke a cigarette. So Dan will just, by the way, that's his camera we're looking through there. We'll just stand out front and just go ahead and light up a cigarette and enjoy the weather, smacking him in the face. He comes back in with snow in his beard, by the way, which eventually melts away and probably giving much-needed liquid to the critters that live in his beard. But he knows that he's on the snow cam when he goes out there and smokes a cigarette, just so you know. So since I was talking about apps for the phone and things like that, interesting one. I do that morning show. There's that television station in Reno, Nevada, and I join them by video. And it's quite literally just it's a Fox News station and an NBC station combined. It's kind of unusual. But anyway, and they have a morning team, and Melissa Carlson hosts as I log in, and they just ask questions, and myself and other people from around the country react to it. Right? Okay. Today's question was about an interesting app for your phone. There are police apps out there. No, not the police using apps on you. Apps that you can use on the police. So, for example, one of them that I really liked, I think this is a good one. Let's say you came across a police officer behaving badly. Or, for that matter, you're just pulled over by a police officer. Stop somewhere. All right. It may take a moment, if you're not all that fast with your phone, it might take a moment for you to get something set up on your phone so you can actually record a video, unless you know where that is. So how about this? Here's an app. You just pop the app, and right away, not only is it recording you and the police officer, just got to hold up the camera so he's in the shot, audio and video, but it also instantly broadcasts it live to a website. And there are people that just have the best time watching that website for anybody that's been stopped by a cop or anybody who's witnessing a cop in action. And you can just watch them work and see if you're watching a cop being bad. If a police officer walks up to someone who's recording like that and broadcasting like that and grabs the cell phone, by the way, he's not allowed to do that. You're allowed to use the phone. It doesn't matter. Oh, he can go ahead and destroy your phone if he wants to. It's already been broadcast. It's already been recorded. It's on the net. It's evidence. Other people saw it live. Other people will watch it later. Now, that I think is a good app, because just like police officers, I think, look, in the line of duty, I think it's a good idea not just to have a dash cam, but now we have police officers walking around with body cams. I don't think that's a bad idea. That way we can honestly see what's going on. It's not in dispute anymore. We can honestly see what's going on. So this works two ways. But there's another app that Melissa at the Reno station was asking me about, and this one, it could go bad. Imagine an app that shows you where every police officer in your town is. When you push the app, you can see where every police officer in your town currently is. Okay, some people can use that against the police in a lot of different ways. Okay, they're all the way over here. We can rob that store now. Okay, we're going to attack that police officer. That's where he is. We can go after him because we know exactly where he is now. Isn't that interesting? If you're at home and your house is being surrounded, you know, because you can see where all the police are. And when I was asked what did I think about that, my answer was, first off, they can go ahead and pass laws against something like that. That's not going to stop that from happening. The technology's out there. It's not going to stop. What's going to be interesting, I think, honestly, what's going to be interesting, the police, I hate predictions, but now and then I make one. The police will start monitoring to see who is downloading that app. So if you have that app on your phone, they're going to know. They may even find an app that blocks that app. Look, this goes right back. Remember the days, I think some people still have them, of, well, yeah, they do, radar detectors. So cops start using radar. So someone builds a radar detector. So the police build something that fools the radar detector. So somebody builds something that fools the thing that fools the radar detection, and on it goes. That's where we're heading right into the middle of an app war, folks. This is going to get interesting.
I'm Professor Burke from Farmers Insurance, and this is 30 Seconds of Smart. So you want discounts on your home insurance? Upgrade your roof. Upgrade your plumbing. Get a burglar alarm. Get a fire alarm. Combine policies with your spouse. Bundle your coverage. Quit smoking. And, of course, talk to farmers, because the more you know about home insurance, the more you can save.
We are farmers.
Get smarter about your insurance at farmers.com.
Stop by and see Lyle Austin, 201 West Lakeway Road in the Lakeway Professional Center, 686-5002. That's 686-5002.
Wimpy, are you still drinking that homebrewed beer the Swedes from Sweet Specialties help you to make?
Why, yes, dear. I sure am, whiny. Why do you ask?
We never have any good wine around here. I would like something really good.
All I hear around here is wine, wine, wine. Why don't you get the makings from Swede at Swede Specialties? He can help you make really good wine right here at home. Give Swede a call, 686-0588, or go to SwedeSpecialties.com.
Hey, gun enthusiasts, it's Gillette's Friends of the NRA 19th Annual Banquet. So get your tickets now before they sell out again, just like they've done every year before. This year it's April 25th, 2015 at 5 p.m. at the Camplex Energy Hall in Gillette, Wyoming. $40 for adults, $30 for 14 and up. Banquet raffle tickets available at Rocky Mountain Discount Sports, Gun Traders, 4T Pawn, Gillette Pawn and Gun, TNT Guns and Ammo. For more information, call 307-941-9669. That's 307-941-9669. Gillette, Friends of NRA, 19th Annual Banquet. Don't miss it. See you there. Ah, summertime. You know, the great outdoors. You know what half the fun is with getting away from it all? Shopping. I mean, we're talking guns, bows, arrows, knives, camping equipment, from tents to sleeping bags, clothing, bug spray, fishing line, lures, tackle bait, cooking equipment, MREs, even all the latest electronic gadgets, and they've got it all at Rocky Mountain Discount Sports with locations throughout Wyoming. So no matter what you need, before you head out into the great outdoors, do some shopping. That's half the fun, isn't it? Rocky Mountain Discount Sports, conveniently located in Gillette, Wyoming, on South Douglas Highway and 1351 CY Drive in Casper. Hello?
Hello, sir. This is Bob at the NSA.
Funny, I was just thinking about you.
Yes, sir, I know.
You know, this relationship really is getting creepy, or beyond the creepy that it was before.
Sir, I was calling you because your best friend is getting married at 2:30 p.m. this Saturday. And, well, he'll be arriving late. Unless you help him with that flat tire.
How did you know he was going to get a flat, Bob?
National security, sir. I'm not allowed to say.
So I guess you guys will be attending the wedding.
In a manner of speaking, sir, yes. And the divorce, 3.5 years later.
No, Glenn, it doesn't matter if you're part owner of the company. No cigars in the studio. Oh, what is that smell? Put your shoes back on. I don't want to smell that. Look, if you want good talent, you have to put up with some bad habits. Let's get back in there with the original bad habit boy, Glenn Woods.
So I just saw something really stupid. Well, we get into commercial breaks. I go out there and I kind of look around to see what's happening on social media, on news sites, whatever. What are people talking about? What's the breaking news story you need to know about? I just saw this. Some lib website, really stupid, put up a picture of some CEO that earned like $100 million last year. And then they wrote underneath, love this. This guy earned $100 million last year, but they call $15 an hour an extreme wage. Okay? So I did my job quickly while you were listening to those fine commercial sponsors. I answered it, then came back to the show. Here's what I answered. 1, nobody said that $15 an hour was an extreme wage. That is a lie. I'll do that again. Nobody said that $15 an hour was an extreme wage. That is a lie. Okay. Next, the CEO that made $100 million last year, you know why he made that much money? Because through his company, through managing that company, he was able to produce so much product, wealth, and put it into the economy. And that's what earned him that salary of $100 million. The guy who's earning minimum wage didn't do that. That's why he's not earning $100 million a year. So there, it's as simple as that. You want to earn $100 million a year, you have to produce as much as that guy. It's not easy to do. All right, there's a tax calculator, a link to it, on my website at boldrepublic.com. Just go to my reading assignment page and scroll down to the bottom. Federal government must make regular interest payments on the money that it's borrowed to finance past deficits. That is the national debt held by the public. That would be you and me. The Congressional Budget Office has estimated that the federal government's net interest payments on the debt will total $229 billion in 2015. Working Americans ended up having to foot the bill, very large bill, by varying degrees based on each individual's taxpayer's adjusted gross income. So, Congressional Budget Office expects that this challenge will accelerate over the next decade. Of course it's going to. Especially with current borrowing. Current interest rates as well are low right now by historic standards. They will go up at some point. So between more borrowing and higher interest rates means higher interest payments. Is projected the net interest cost will more than triple over the next decade, reaching $808 billion by 2025, and I think that's a conservative estimate. The numbers posed in a real threat. Congressional Budget Office right now is issuing warnings about the serious negative consequences that high of a rising debt and interest payments could have on both the economy and the federal budget. Let's throw in their future generations. The large amount of debt restrict policymakers' ability to use tax and spending policies to respond, says the Congressional Budget Office. We're going to end up, in other words, translation, with a fiscal downturn, in other words, recession, if not outright depression. Okay, so the story that I have in front of me, it's from Fox News, but from their, the financial television station they have there, Fox Business News. All right, it's there. So you can go there and calculate. I would suggest a few strong drinks beforehand, maybe some other kinds of medication if you really want to see it. Don't go into this unprepared if you decide to do it.
Welcome to Wesley Mouch's Liberal Cafe. We have the only menu with fine print, so please read. You must wait to be seated. You cannot choose your own seat because you do not know where is best for you. Seating is arranged to best obtain the appearance of diversity and tolerance. Before you order, please fill out this form showing that you understand our sexual harassment policies. Notice that all of our staff represents an equal share of gender, race, and sexual preferences. In order to achieve this level of fairness, we have more staff than we need. Please give them something to do. You can look at the menu, but your order will be made for you because you do not know what is best for you. Menu in English upon request. The staff is paid no matter what, and all pay is equal to make it fair. Therefore, they have no incentive to work harder for you, so service sucks, and so does the food. Those who do not show up at the diner are sent bills for what they should have spent, and rather high bills for tips as well. When you tip, remember, quality of service does not matter. Tips are split up evenly between the waitresses to make it fair. Rich people who don't really eat in places like this are charged more and must pay for the meals of those who are less fortunate. They also must cover all tips, including their own and those who have not eaten yet but are assumed to be showing up soon. Since no one really wants to eat here, Wesley Mouch's Liberal Cafe is losing money big time, and so is subsidized by the government. Because most of the money is eaten up by the bureaucracy, very little of it actually gets to the diner. Interestingly, though, more and more money is allocated every year, but less and less seems to make it.
This restaurant is union run. You will be back. We are not asking. Come visit the Liberal Cafe today. Either way, you're paying for it. It's the Bold Republic Radio Show, last 7 minutes of the program. My name is Glenn Woods. Thanks for joining me. So yesterday, I was talking about a math problem. Now, just so you know, I went ahead and cut out the entire thing that I did and posted what the real, because I think that the entire math problem wasn't really a math problem. It's a trick question. And if you go to my website at boldrepublic.com, the answer's there. I just cut out what I said about it. And I even took a call about it. I also posted it on my YouTube page, Facebook, and all that kind of stuff so you can see what the answer is. But it's just a complicated question that was put on one website, TheBlaze, where they said it was a Common Core math question. Now, I kind of wonder if it really was or not. I just had fun answering it. But anyway, I got a call from South Dakota.
I'm David Houck. From South Dakota. I'm David from South Dakota.
Oh, okay. All right. My main complaint was it wasn't teaching anything that I saw that you can actually apply in the real world.
Yes. Well, the example you gave about Susie and her two boyfriends, if you sit down and think about that, that is just common algebra where you don't know X, Y, or Z what they are.
Right.
And it's a process of elimination. That's a problem. People can't think like that anymore.
Right.
It's like when I was in high school, I took business arithmetic, and nobody liked it, but that was the best class I ever took because it showed me how to apply everyday life to situations. Yeah, and it's just, and typing was another one. I thought, man, I'll never use typing, but it was an easy class. The best two classes I ever took.
Right.
And what's happening is with the Common Core thing is it was just designed to test people like the SAT tests are, and they're getting curriculum and Common Core mixed up.
Right.
Common Core has nothing to do with what the schools teach. It doesn't say that you got to teach it. It just shows their deficiency, and people don't like it.
Mm-hmm. I think also part of the problem that I think what people are worried about is it's taking away some local control, because as soon as the feds come in with federal money, they start attaching all sorts of rules and regulations with it and taking away that local control. That seems to be the problem that I'm hearing from people, is where it was supposed to be something that was only handled on the local level. That's not the case anymore.
Well, that is a good concern, a good thought.
Mm-hmm.
But if you take money from somebody, you're going to have to play by their standards.
Right.
It doesn't matter. I mean, it's the government's way of attracting us, and then we have to go by their standards, and they don't like it. That's life. If you go to a bank and get a loan, you've got to do certain criteria, or they won't give you the loan.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, no, I agree. And I do agree, which is part of what I was trying to explain yesterday, that we should have math problems that do help people think a certain way and understand why math problems work the way that they do. But some of them, the ones I was using yesterday was mostly just fun, just for the fun of it. Because I saw the word problem, and I thought, hey, I can make something funny out of this. But I've seen Common Core math problems that I just thought were just a mess. I mean, absolutely a mess, and I can understand why parents were upset about it. And they want to be able to go to their school and voice that concern, so they want the local people to be in charge, not the feds.
Well, it's like my daughter says, it's always the people that are behind or their kids in trouble are the ones that come to school and bitch. They're seeing what their kids say, and it's half of it or 90% of it isn't true. And once she gets them straightened around, they're fine. Mm-hmm. But our whole attitude is, when we stop letting teachers spank the kids, mm-hmm. we lost everything.
Right. Right. Yeah.
So.
Okay. Well, I appreciate your call. That's just mainly where I come from. Is it seems to me more than anything else, people are worried about losing their local control, and my answer is, then don't take the federal money.
Right. That is exactly right.
Yeah. Dave from South Dakota calling in, and really that's what it comes down to. Just remember, I even come across people who consider themselves conservatives that will turn and say, hey, there's all this money the federal government's going to give to us for whatever program. Understand, whatever they're promising to give you money for, strings are attached with the money that they're promising to give you. And we've seen how extensive that, well, how far do they go? Once they get their claws in there, how far do they go? All right. That's the problem we're dealing with right now. The federal government can really have no power whatsoever, zero power over the states, if we didn't take the money. But that's how they figured out, well, okay, we'll build a highway system through. You're going to need that highway system for your commerce there, so it's going to take all this. But we'll give money to your school systems. Hey, you love that money for your school system. Hey, we're going to give you some free health care money out there. And all that comes with strings attached. And then we find ourselves in the clutches of the federal government. We've gotten hooked on it. Now what? Once you've gotten hooked on the drug, it's like being a crack addict at this point. Good news is federal government's gone broke, so you don't have to worry about it much longer. Bad news is future generations are going to live in poverty because of it. Now it's real bad news. All right, folks, that's it for today. We'll do it all again on Thursday. See you then.